This young guy's name is Minato. He's an awakened, but he's basically useless because he can't use any of his abilities. Hai became a punching bag for bullies every single day. One time when they shoved him into the water and he was just one finger's width away from death, he was finally recognized by over 100 souls of this world's founders. They told him to choose one person for dual cultivation or wait my bad to inherit their powers. But since he's a real man, he shouted loud and clear, "Only idiots choose." He chose them all. And just like that, he gained the power of every single founder of this world. The good news: he became incredibly powerful. The bad news: he can only hold that power for a few minutes before he drops like a dead dog. Let's jump right into the main story. The story opens with a mysterious narrator explaining how the world suddenly faced a catastrophe. Hordes of twisted monsters suddenly appeared along with a massive swarm of beasts. They poured out of the towers and humanity was being crushed underfoot, completely helpless. Just when it seemed like the human race was about to be wiped out, a light of salvation appeared. A group of transcendent beings, the first generation known as the progenitors, emerged. Their power was enough to push back the monster invasion. They defeated the monsters and destroyed the towers. Humanity eventually won the war against the invaders from another dimension, and the progenitors became the heroes who saved the world. They were honored by mankind, and mausoleums were built to remember them for eternity. Hundreds of years later, after the world stabilized, the myths of the progenitors were still our protagonist. Minato loves them. He could sit in the library for hours just reading about a swordsman who took down 10,000 troops with nothing but a tree branch, or a mage who reached the truth of magic, capable of casting any spell without needing to chant even in this day and age. To most people, these are just exaggerated fairy tales, but Minato always wished that he too could carve his name into history. Just like the progenitors, he wanted his own book written about him. Minato's dream actually had some basis because he had a special mark on his hand, proof that he was a chosen one, a transcendent. With this mark, Minato swore he would definitely write his name in history, just like the progenitors do, something great and build a brilliant future. Well, in his dreams at least. To become a transcendent, you need to pass the hunter exam held every year. If you're truly a transcendent, all you need to do is write your name to pass, but Minato, poor guy, has bad luck. He's failed 3 years in a row. Because of this, his friends all look down on him and mock him, calling him senpai. A jab at the fact that he's been a student for 3 years and still hasn't passed. The maximum deadline to pass is 3 years after enrollment. This year is his last chance, but luck didn't smile on him either. He failed and can no longer become a hunter anymore. Even though he got a perfect score on the written test and trained like crazy to boost his aura, the only thing he lacked was the author's approval. The author said, "Fail," so he failed. Right now, Minato feels disgusted by the mark on his hand. It looks like a useless birthmark. He really wishes he were talented just like the progenitors. But in this world, not everything you want is something you can actually do. Minato was cleaning the classroom when a classmate suddenly shouted, telling him to hurry to the front gate. What was waiting out there was exactly what Minato had always dreamed of. The nation's superstar idol, A-rank hunter. Hizaki Kaisai. Minato used all his strength to run out and greet his idol despite the grumbling of other fans. Seeing this, Hizaki walked over to defend him. "Don't bully the weak, okay? But look closely. This guy isn't actually a good person at all. He's just trying to keep up a good image for the cameras. The reporters following him are only sucking up to him because of his reputation. After all, Hizaki once took down a dragon beast with a single slash. Hizaki Kaisai is about the same age as Minato since he enrolled at the same time 3 years ago. He's a genius who tops every subject, but he's also a scumbag who specializes in ganging up on the weak. Especially Minato. It's weird why he would spend a whole day filming a reality show and even dragging Minato into it. Hizaki introduced Minato as a friend who hasn't been very successful. "He asked for my help," Hizaki claimed, saying he had to cut into his own training time to give advice, guide him, and sometimes even provide financial support. Every time Hizaki spoke, Minato just stood there completely frozen. Financial support. Is that what he calls beating people up and robbing their wallets? This is what you call dragging someone else down to lift yourself up? Hearing Hizaki's bulls, Minato felt a churning, uncomfortable sensation in his heart. Never in his life had he experienced such a miserable year. And it was all because of him. But in reality, people only believe what they see right in front of them. No one cares if it's actually true. They kept cheering for Hizaki as a great, wonderful person, while Minato stood there in a daze. Hizaki even put an arm around Minato's shoulder and told the cameras he would carve his name into history and become a true transcendent. He was clearly trying to provoke Minato. The reporters hearing this happily told Minato how lucky he was to be close to Hizaki and asked if he had anything to say to his benefactor. Caught off guard, Minato was speechless. To him, this guy was a bitter enemy, not a benefactor. And since it was a grudge, he wanted to punch him, not talk to him. But facing Hizaki's subtle threats, and remembering the terrible things he'd done, Minato had no choice but to stammer out that Hizaki had helped him a lot. I'm really grateful. Maybe grateful wasn't even enough. Before Minato could finish, Hizaki suddenly interrupted, stepping in front of the camera. We're short on time, that's enough. Over there are my trophies. Having said that, they immediately walked away. Minato was left alone in a corner, feeling hollow and heartbroken, as if he were just a piece of trash that had been discarded. At that very moment, he realized something about this world. No matter how terrible or heartless a person might be, as long as they are a hunter, they are admired and remembered by everyone. At this moment, Minato's eyes were brimming with tears. I truly wanted to scream his name out to the whole world, but just as he was about to do it, Hizaki suddenly called out to him from behind. He asked Minato to come to the ancestral mausoleum after school for an interview shoot. The final spot for the photo shoot was inside the tomb. If everything went well, he promised to help Minato get another chance to retake the exam. Minato was stunned and shocked, realizing that this was just another part of Hizaki's image-building campaign. I was only helping to boost his own reputation with no good intentions at all. Even though he hated being used to make this jerk look better, this was a rare opportunity. No matter what it took, Minato had to hold on to this chance. I was determined to pass the exam and become a superhuman. That afternoon, things went pretty smoothly. In front of the lens, Hizaki looked like he had stepped right out of a painting, but it was a shame that he was actually a villain. After finishing the photo shoot and filming successfully, Hizaki bowed to say goodbye to the press crew, then turned and walked into the ancestral mausoleum. He walked deep inside to a place where two guys were digging into the ground with shovels, looking like they were excavating a dead person's grave. Just then, Minato happened to walk by and saw everything. He scolded them, asking what they were doing. Hizaki coolly replied, "Are you blind? Can't you see we're looking for treasure?" Treasure. What a load of trash. These guys were grave robbers. Do you even know who is sleeping under there? Kaizen replied coldly, Who cares? He stomped hard onto the stone floor of the mausoleum. It's just a bunch of long decomposed mummies, that's all. He sounded smug, and every word he spat out made Minato horrified. Selling just one of these items could make you a billionaire. How could I pass that up? I don't get why they were buried with these mummies anyway. Ancestors, mausoleums, it's all nonsense. Memories of Minato's admiration for them flooded his mind. The ancestors are amazing. One day, I'll carve my name into history just like them. Minato glared in outrage, unable to contain his fury. He lunged at him and shouted, "You son of a bitch!" Even so, Kaizen was an A-rank hunter, so dodging Minato's attack was as easy as pie. He delivered a punch that sent Minato spitting blood. Minato clutched his stomach in pain. Kaizen looked down at his pathetic state with contempt. Who do you think you're talking to? Minato lay on the ground, desperate. Is this it? Am I going to die like this? Suddenly, Kaizen's henchman carried a bag full of rare items up from the tomb. Lord Hizaki. Minato was stunned to see them hauling the bag of items. Kaizen grabbed a few of the glowing items, unable to contain his excitement. This aura, is it coming from the item itself? This is incredible. Just one of these is enough to live on for a lifetime. Minato screamed helplessly in his mind. Stop! Who gave you the right to touch those treasures? Damn it! His voice couldn't reach them. Kaizen turned to him. Now I'll explain it in a way that a loser like you can actually understand. Kaizen grabbed his collar and hoisted him up. I was just looking for someone simple-minded like you. Retaking the exam was just a lie, and you were gullible enough to believe it and come running here. How pathetic. He mentioned all the times Minato had studied so hard. I know about that too. It seems you visit the mausoleum library quite often. When I first heard about that, I laughed, because I never expected to find such an easy target to exploit right in front of me. As he dragged Minato across the ground, he kept mocking his desperation. A guy who can't become a hunter caught grave robbing the ancestors. What a bitter tragedy. Minato glared at him with venom. Don't you dare! Kaizen didn't let him finish. The hottest headline tomorrow will be this. Kaizen grabbed his collar, leaving Minato dangling in midair. Student from the Hunter Academy caught stealing items in the ancestral mausoleum and dies while fleeing. He let go, dropping him down. What was your name again? Minato watched the trash in front of him with hatred. Kaizen watched him fall, his eyes full of contempt. Whatever. Bye. Minato sank to the bottom of the water. Is my life going to end here? All those days of training, all those exams I went through, was it all for nothing? I'm going to die and disappear without anyone remembering me. Suddenly, shimmering lights surrounded him. He watched in surprise as figures emerged from those specks of light. They began to echo in his mind. Vessel, vessel, O you who can fulfill our wishes, vessel. The figures spoke in unison. We are the spirits resting beneath the mausoleum. Minato was too shocked to believe his ears. What is this? These voices, these lights, are they the ancestors? The spirits continued to explain the truth about the mark on his hand. Little one, the mark on your hand is nothing. On its own, it holds no power, but it also means it can contain any power. They urged him to choose one of the ancestors, here and forge a contract with them. Each of us is a master of a specific path. We hold skills from generations of ancestors, magic body, technique, swordsmanship, marksmanship, summoning, and alchemy. Whoever you choose, we can grant you more power than you could ever hope for. They asked him, speak, whose power do you desire? Minato voiced his craving. I want to defeat them. But then he thought, no, that's not it. I want a power that will make sure I never lose to anyone in the world. A power that overwhelms everything enough to wipe away all the humiliation he had endured until now. The ancestors urged him to give them his answer quickly. Make up your mind already. Who exactly are you going to choose? You demanded, give me all of your power right now. They called you greedy and foolish, claiming it was impossible no matter how powerful a vessel you were. But Minato just shouted, shut up and stop whining. Everyone get inside me now. The ancestors went into a frenzy as he started pulling them in. Wait, stop, you brat, I'll kill you, this is bad. Hey, are you kidding me? You want to die. Stop this right now, you scoundrel, who do you think you are? A magic circle began to glow beneath Minato's feet. Kaizen wondered what was happening when suddenly water splashed everywhere, drenching the area. Kaizen's underlings quickly held up an umbrella for their boss. I was stunned. What is this? Minato's body began to levitate, enveloped in a brilliant blue aura. He touched down lightly, every drop of water falling away as if he had transformed into a completely different person. His sharp blue eyes glinted from beneath his blue hair. Kaizen's minions glared at him, annoyed. Tick, he crawled out of there, didn't he? That persistent cockroach? Minato casually picked up a twig, leaving them confused. Huh, what the hell is he doing? Before they could finish, he swung the twig in one motion. Seeing such a ridiculous act, they burst into laughter. Vuggy, ha ha ha! They mocked him. What's that? Are you planning on bullying us with that twig? Is that it? Minato kept swinging the twig to get a feel for it. Kaizen, losing patience, spat, enough. I didn't want to play with him anymore and ordered his men, this time don't let him stand back up. Cut his throat. Yes, sir. The leader of the pack drew his sword and bragged, my aura was rated A in the swordsmanship exam, you know. Did you know that? It was evaluated by an expert swordsman. Be grateful that you're going to die by it. Minato muttered to himself while the guy prepared to charge. Rated by an expert. Minato delivered a strike as fast as the wind, leaving the man unable to react. Deep cuts scored the man's body. Minato continued, where was it rated again? The man couldn't even speak from the pain. Kaizen and the fat one stood there frozen. Minato called out, hey, tell me, will you? He put the twig down and looked at him. Where is that sword skill of yours? What did you say it was recognized? The fat guy, seeing this, began to cast a spell. You bastard, blue cradle, destructive glare, level 7, phase 2. Minato pointed a finger at him. Too slow. He cast a spell, a Dado lightning strike. A bolt of lightning shot straight at the fat man, catching him off guard before he could finish his spell. No chanting required. The lightning slammed down, shaking the entire forest, amidst the thick dust. The fat man collapsed, twitching on the ground. Kaizen finally realized the gravity of the situation, a man who could kill with just a twig and use magic without any incantations. No way. It was like the legends from long ago, a swordsman who could defeat an army with a single twig, or a mage who had reached the truth of magic, able to cast any spell without chanting. These stories were only considered exaggerated fairy tales. The mausoleum of the ancestors was built to worship those transcendent beings. Inside Kanagi Minato now resided the souls of all of them, 106 of them. Once again his voice rang out with determination. I will become the transcendent one and carve my name into history, Minato against Kaizen. Your names will never be carved into history. He emphasized that what would be passed down forever would be the myth of him, Minato. Radiating a powerful blue aura, he stood holding a dry twig facing Kaizen. The underlings who had been so arrogant moments ago now lay motionless on the ground. He gripped the twig, marveling, amazing. Because of the mark, I'm able to contain the souls of the ancestors. They were all moving, cheering, and enjoying themselves. They're really enjoying this place. He could feel their joy inside him. The ancestors in his inner world were excited, their voices ringing out. It's been hundreds of years since I've been outside, hasn't it? What is this? It's huge from here to there. This is all my territory. Many other voices echoed in his ears, reminding him of how excited he used to be when reading history books. I thought to himself, I've read the biographies of every single one of those ancestors so many times that I know them by heart. Their souls were right there inside him. He felt the spirits shifting within his body and smiled. After chatting happily, the ancestors said, and then their gaze suddenly changed, shining like stars as they looked at Minato, as if eyeing a delicious prey fighting over who would get to take over this brat's body. Then the ancestor Raichiro crossed his arms and stood behind him. Hey kid, he called out. Minato jumped and looked back, sizing up the swordsman who could defeat an army with a twig. Hinoki Raichiro stroked his smooth chin, his eyes glowing red as he smirked arrogantly. Oh, so my name is still being passed down to future generations, that's definitely me. He placed his hand on the boy's head, soft as a feather, not making the boy feel uncomfortable at all, and asked straight out, so what are you planning to do from now on, kid? The boy cast a glance at Hijaki, who was gritting his teeth in frustration nearby, unable to do anything, and asked, You mean about him? He let out a disdainful sigh and replied, Who cares about that piece of trash? His expression turned dangerous as he pointed at something. I'm asking about that thing. What are you going to do with it now? The boy heard him say. His eyes widened in momentary shock, but he quickly regained his composure and walked toward the guy. The man was trembling in fear, stuttering, What are you going to do? Seeing the boy wouldn't stop. The man backed away, gathered his momentum, conjured a sword, and threatened angrily, I'm an A-rank, don't push me. Don't glare at me, the boy said, slowly approaching him before throwing a straight punch to his mouth, deforming his face. He used his strength to send the man flying in circles for over 100 meters. From afar, the man's shrill screams could still be heard. The boy calmly said, Get out of the way. And a dark, sinister source of power radiated from inside the backpack. That power erupted like a volcanic eruption. The boy's eyes widened in sheer astonishment, staring at the scene without even blinking, while Raichiro seemed to have predicted this would happen. I wore a smug smile. Scene transitioned to a city somewhere. Thick fog blanketed the high-rise buildings. On the streets, blood was everywhere, bodies lay scattered, and a three-headed wolf looking ferocious roared insanely. It smashed everything it came across. A man walking on the street screamed in terror, I'm counting on you, Kisaragi. The wolf was drooling profusely. It opened its mouth as wide as it could to attack the man, but the man showed no sign of fear. He leaped high into the air and unleashed a move. Fire impact, aura explosion, attacking the wolf. Instantly, a massive burst of power struck the beast directly. It made the monster howl loudly. Everyone around cheered in joy. Oh my God, killing an A-rank monster in one hit as expected of an S-rank hunter. How was the S-rank hunter Kisaragi? Looking at the crowd showering him with endless praise, he replied, Thank you. By the way, where's Hijaki? One of them replied immediately. He's probably off doing an interview. You know, since he's called a young talent, he looks pretty full of himself. Kisaragi quickly made excuses. Don't say that. If he becomes famous, the guild will get to share in that reputation too. In that case, wait for me to file the report, then we'll go for a drink. He took his phone out of his pocket and was scrolling through the news when he suddenly frowned in surprise. What kind of magical creature is this? This feeling. Turning his head to look behind him, everyone was collapsing to the ground, exhausted of all strength. Two men who were still conscious tried to support their bodies, asking with difficulty, Mr. Kisaragi, what is this? He held his phone intending to call someone. Feeling restless and uneasy, he thought. The pressure is so strong that even B and A ranks can't stand. No mistake, this thing must be above S rank. Everyone standing nearby in this area is being affected. Lying flat on the ground, unable to get up, a loud noise erupted from the tomb. Hijaki scrambled up in pain, his face so distorted that perhaps even his parents wouldn't recognize him anymore. I was stammering, unable to let out a coherent sound. He was terrified to discover a monstrous creature with a bizarre shape flying out of the backpack, and he backed away in fear. I didn't stop screaming, "Monster, what is that thing?" Minato stared intently at the monster. Without turning back, he explained, "It's because you were the one who opened the tomb. This is one of the tower bosses that was sealed inside the tomb, and the things that were keeping them trapped were the items you guys brought out." Raichiro came up behind the boy, agreeing and adding, "That's right. Among the monsters in the tower, some had a hibernation skill, which is how they managed to survive. This is a void insect. Void insect tech nemesis class, estimated above S rank. The aura it radiates is toxic and can kill ordinary people within a radius of a few kilometers. This was a disaster in our era. So monsters like this were quite common, but for the younger generation today, it's probably a bit too strong." Hearing their conversation, the guy was panting, his whole body trembling violently. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and ran for his life. "I have to run now or I'll get killed." The boy couldn't stop him and called out after him, "You'd better not move, it will prioritize targeting that." The void insect saw his silhouette rushing past, its eyes still stained with blood. It aimed its tentacles toward him. Hijaki terrifiedly raised his sword to block, yelling, "Ah, ah!" His sword broke in two the moment he swung it. That tentacle pierced straight through his chest. He thought in despair, "My sword. The sword that could kill a dragon in one strike." The tentacles crawled everywhere on his body, leaving no spot untouched. Little by little, it sucked his life force dry. He screamed in painful despair, "No, no!" Then he turned into a dried husk. The boy glanced at him once and said, "I told you so." Raichiro walked over, put his arm around the boy's shoulder, and tried to coax him. "Hey kid, can you give me full control of your body?" He struck a cool pose and introduced himself. "See that I am the founder of the Hinoki Ituryu school." Internally, he was smug. "Heh heh, the early bird gets the worm. While the others still haven't figured anything out, I'll take control of this body first." The boy bowed his head and replied in a low voice, "I suppose I could lend it to you." I glanced at the boy, beaming inside, "Really?" Before he could even finish his sentence, the other ancestors lunged at him, grabbing him and cursing, "Hinoki, you bastard, trying to cut in line. This vessel is mine," or something like that. I was stunned and tried to calm them down. "Wait, have I been found out?" While they were busy tugging at each other, he suddenly spoke up, leaving everyone wide-eyed in disbelief, unable to believe their own ears. With a steady, confident look in his eyes, he replied, "I will surpass all of you for sure." Deep down, he was calculating, "I want to see just how strong I need to be to pull this off. Come on, show me what you've got." Raichiro felt helpless. What the hell, this kid is really getting under my skin. As he drew his sword and swung it, Minato also raised the branch in his hand. The two seemed to merge into one, as if Raichiro was fighting through his body. He shouted with excitement and charged in, slashing wildly without any pattern, and in one go he sliced one of the void creature's tentacles into hundreds of tiny pieces. Blue fluid sprayed everywhere from its body, and just then the branch in his hand snapped in two. Seeing the broken branch, he decided to fight it out with his bare hands. I got into a stance similar to one touch, and delivered a direct strike to the next tentacle, cutting it clean off, then leaned to dodge its counterattack, picking up a dry branch nearby to use as a weapon. This time it was the god Conchi's taking over. He used the wood like a spear, striking hard at the void creature as the others took turns possessing him, attacking the void creature relentlessly. He finished off the remaining tentacles, then reached down to pick up his backpack, striking a bow and arrow pose just like Tenku. Magic fired thousands of arrows that pierced through its head, causing the void creature to scream in agony as blue blood sprayed everywhere. It retaliated by spitting out blue poison. He tossed the backpack and bow aside, shielding his face. He seemed to split into the different ancestors, each manifestation possessing a unique power. From water fire to ice, he unleashed continuous attacks on the remaining tentacles, fighting so hard that the sword in his hand snapped in two, his eyes glowing like high-beam headlights. That was the manifestation of the mage Meltias. She pointed at the void creature, controlling his body to jump high and attack it head-on, his silhouette blazing bright under the moonlight. His eyes changed again. Hinoki Ituryu. As soon as he spoke the name, Ituryu appeared and used the technique Gekiru, strengthening wave slash, unleashing a massive surge of power. It sliced the void creature's head in two, and he flashed a satisfied grin. Far away, perched on a dry branch, a black crow had been watching for who knows how long. It observed the entire fight with the void creature, while elsewhere, a blond man stood on a high pillar overlooking the entire city. I was talking to someone on the phone. Hello, what? It's already been defeated. My attack just got there, though. Are there really hunters that strong around here? The person on the other end replied immediately. According to the footage from the crow, it was a student from the academy. The blond man stood under the moonlight looking intrigued. Well then, I look forward to meeting him. How was the world's strongest superhuman? Ichihara Midori. Midori sat atop the corpse of a giant dragon with monsters piled up like a high tower. Blood stained their bodies. He turned toward the skyscrapers and picked up the phone. Hello, director. Long time no see. Midori chatted on the phone. Yes, that S-rank monster. No, it wasn't me. I saw the video the crow sent back. It seems like one of your students, Kaminagi Minato, defeated it, but that student has failed the exam. For 3 years in a row. He took a sip of his coffee and continued. So I find it a bit hard to believe, which is why I'd like to ask you for a favor. At school, students were buzzing about what happened yesterday. Yesterday was crazy, wasn't it? 2 friends stood talking, rubbing their sore bodies. That aura was terrifying. I couldn't move, the other friend added, still in pain. I can still feel the aftershocks. The friend smirked and pointed his thumb at himself. If I told you I was the one who defeated it, would anyone believe me? The other sighed, dismissing him. Don't joke around. It's been 15 years since an S-rank monster appeared. He then asked, but hey, do you remember anything about that mysterious guy? There's a rumor that a student here took it down. The other friend countered, that's absurd. How could anyone here defeat it? Besides someone that strong? Minato leaned on his cane and walked past them. Minato's body was shaking like a leaf. He had to lean on his cane to keep from collapsing, sweating profusely, barely holding it together as he listened to their assessment. Couldn't possibly be studying at a place like this. Minato strained his ears to listen to everyone. Wow, everyone is only talking about yesterday. A rude man wearing his cap backward grabbed the hilt of his golden sword. He bumped into Minato and acted annoyed. Get out of the way, you're in the way. Minato, exhausted, swayed like a dry leaf about to fall. He stumbled and face-planted onto the floor. That guy didn't even bother to help him up. He just glanced with contempt at the one who had taken down that S-rank monster. At least he's not an idiot like that. Minato groaned, struggling to get up. He remembered the moments he felt so cool while fighting the monster, thinking how great it would have been if he had just defeated it yesterday. But perhaps because I borrowed the power of the progenitor, my whole body feels like it's falling apart. Someone laughed heartily. Ha ha ha, what good is that then? Minato looked up to see a familiar figure slowly approaching. It turned out to be Ituryu. Master Raichiru, Minato exclaimed. Ituryu replied, just call me Raichiru. Come on, pull yourself together, Minato. You said you were going to surpass us. Minato looked up, regaining his senses. He remembered what he had told Ituryu, I will surpass you all for sure. He pushed himself up, his face filled with determination. Of course I will. Minato tremblingly started doing push-ups. Ituryu laughed. Ha ha ha, show me your perseverance, kid. A student passing by saw the scene. Hey, is that guy crazy? Ituryu turned his head and gave a sharp look. He remarked, the modern generation of transcendentals has such a low level. Ituryu sighed. They're barely better than ordinary people. If the tower appeared right now, the world would be destroyed in an instant. Minato was still leaning on his cane, groaning non-stop. Suddenly, Ituryu jumped, his face tightening as he sensed someone with an aura far more powerful and dazzling than any normal transcendental. Minato asked with difficulty, what's wrong? Ituryu remained tense, nothing. But inwardly he thought, there was an extremely powerful energy just now. The teacher's voice echoed through the hallway. Minato, how much longer are you going to dawdle? Minato apologized profusely. I'm sorry, is it because I'm late? He recalled the notification that appeared on his phone, Hunter Qualification Exam. Kaminagi Minato failed. He felt discouraged. The academy only allowed hunter exams 3 times a year. I've used up all my chances. There's no way to retake it through the school anymore. Now I can only register through the regular application process. Even ordinary people have a chance to become hunters through the regular registration. The teacher explained, no, get to the stadium now, you're allowed a retake. Minato was so startled that his eyes widened and his mouth hung open, though he didn't forget to lean on his cane to keep from falling. The students in the school gathered again to gossip. What, is there a retake system for the hunter exam? Who knows? Minato was in the starting position for the 100-meter dash. The average record was 3.6 seconds, the best was 2.7. He was determined to succeed even though he hadn't fully recovered, but I have to give it my all. The guy wearing the backward cap from earlier appeared again to gossip, mocking them. Don't you guys know? That guy is the most famous student in school, because he's always at the bottom of the rankings. They probably just felt pity and gave him a retake. As soon as the starting gun went off, Minato bolted, leaving nothing but dust behind. The referee announced, 1.2 seconds. The students gathered astonished. Even the referee was shocked by the change. Next was the 3,000-meter run with an average record of 4 minutes and 20 seconds. The best record was 3 minutes and 17 seconds. After he finished, the announcement was 1 minute and 17 seconds. The third part was 2 minutes of push-ups. The average record was 215, the best was 418. I was completely focused on the test, drenched in sweat. After finishing, the referee was shocked again. 840. Minato puffed out his cheeks, giving his all for the weightlifting. The average record was 400 kilograms. The best was 620. The referee's voice echoed again. 1,280 kilograms. Students from the upper floors poked their heads out the windows to watch Minato. They were stunned. What on earth is that guy? He smashed every previous record with double the performance. Minato was completely oblivious to them. On the contrary, he was doing his absolute best, so he wouldn't have to retake it and could become a true hunter. Someone shouted in admiration, "A monster, huh? So cool!" Minato looked over at Ituryu, who was bored and didn't want to talk. Was it the progenitor who helped again this time? Ituryu curled his lip. Who wants to help you? We're just watching. Perhaps in the director's office, a staff member's voice sounded, "These are the current results for Kaminagi Minato." The staff respectfully invited Lady Midori to take a look. Midori sat with her legs crossed, smirking while swiping on her tablet. Thanks. Wow, and an amazing achievement, the director said tiredly, taking a handkerchief to wipe the sweat from his forehead after receiving the request for the retake. I was very surprised. His physical stats are truly astonishing. However, he recounted, the problem lies in the magic power test. For the past 3 years, he has received the same result, unable to measure. Midori didn't even bother to look up at the director, keeping her eyes fixed on the scores on the tablet. She stated, in other words, his magic power is 0. The director put away his handkerchief and sat up straight. So I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, Jin said anxiously. 0, Lady Midori, how? Midori smiled and interrupted her. Come on now. She lowered her voice. Just watch. 2 staff members at the desk set up outside the arena explained to Minato, you know how the test works, right? Use your magic powers to spin this windmill within 30 seconds. The number of rotations is your score. In front of Minato stood a very large windmill. Students flocked down to watch. There were so many of them. They whispered, this is gonna be good. Before that, his average record was 1,513 rotations. The best was 4,022. Minato stretched his arms. He was trying to loosen up, determined. For the past 3 years, no matter how many times I've tried, I could never make this windmill budge because I could never control or even feel magic power. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. But now I finally understand it's all about circulation. Extend your hand, starting from your right toes, running energy through your body and back to your right toes. Use your breath to accelerate the flow. Minato is trying to sense his inner energy. That energy is violently wrapping around his body, and as he releases it through his palm, the energy concentrated in his hand suddenly glows with a blinding light. A staff member operating a computer shouts, "Start." The fan is enveloped in energy glowing as Minato controls it. Another staff member stares, "Oh, look at that." Then the fan begins to spin continuously, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2 staff members are shocked. It just started, but the counter has already reached 1,240 and the fan is spinning even more violently, spinning incessantly. The counter surges past 999,999. The wind force is so strong that a staff member's hat blows away and he yells, wait, it's too fast. You can't even count the revolutions anymore. A massive explosion occurs on the school grounds. Boom, panic breaks out and the staff members are left sprawling across the yard. Minato just stands there motionless. The fan snaps off, trailing fire as it rolls away. Students panic and scramble to get out of the way, terrified the fan will hit them. They scream in fear, as the fan zips accurately toward the director's office window. The director looks surprised. Meanwhile, Midori calmly continues watching his tablet. Another loud explosion erupts. The fan has landed squarely inside the office. Trailing fire, the fan pierces the floor, leaving holes, and the floorboards are splintered. The director turns pale. His sofa is tilted just a few centimeters away from certain death. The fan would have hit him in the face. Sweat pours down his head like a rainstorm, and his eyes widen as he stares at the chaos in his office. The director's sofa collapses. Ha is speechless. Jin asks, "Midori, is this?" Midori laughs heartily. "Ha ha ha, looks like this student is just like me," he says, looking at the debris. Hai keeps smirking, as is his habit, the second person in history with immeasurable power. At the training ground, Minato is still stunned that his magic power has suddenly become so strong. Everyone around is equally shocked. The heavy-set staff member who fell to the ground hasn't even managed to stand up yet. He stares at Minato with wide eyes, then puts on his broken glasses. After the chaos, the announcement comes. "You passed. Congratulations on passing the Hunter exam." The students erupt in cheers. "Wow!" Breaking every record. Minato looks at his hands, deeply moved. He clenches his fists, holding them to his chest, teary-eyed. "Thank you," he whispers, feeling so happy. "So I can be this strong too." Iturio smirks as he watches Minato basking in his joy. Just as expected, he recalls the recent battle. Thanks to lending his body to the progenitor, Minato's hidden potential has awakened, but Iturio just laughs heartily. Ha ha ha, as expected, he's no ordinary person who only possesses void scriptures. He looks at Minato. Hundreds of years of waiting have finally been rewarded. What do you think, my friend? Minato keeps laughing and crying at the same time. This kid might actually be able to make our desires a reality. Minato is startled. A powerful surge of magic suddenly appears in front of him. He covers his face with both hands to shield himself from the infinite light. He yells in fear, "What is that?" Iturio frowns and steps in front of him. "This guy is..." You ask, "What's exploding?" Iturio is surprised. "The powerful energy I felt this morning." Midori appears suddenly through the smoke he created himself. "Ta-da!" Minato looks up, grinding his teeth. It's Ichihara Midori, the legend of the Transcendental Era, the strongest one. Why would someone like him be here? He approaches to shake Minato's hand, looking cheerful. "Look at that, Minato. Congratulations on passing the Hunter exam." Minato is stunned. "Thank you," he says, but in his heart he is suspicious. "How does he know my name?" Midori speaks up. "All right then. Now we will proceed with a supplementary test. That is..." He smiles brightly, clasping his hands together. "Getting hammered by the strongest person in the world." Minato's jaw drops. "Huh!" Through the hazy smoke, a blond young man appears with a bright smile on his face. He scratches his head excitedly. "Ta-da!" Minato looks at the person standing before him. Hai is shocked to the point of widening his eyes, hesitating, unable to speak. But inside his heart is screaming the young man's name, Ichihara Midori. Looking at Midori's handsome face, his smile and his bright eyes, Minato can't sit still, wondering, the legend of the Transcendental Era, the strongest one. Why is someone like him here? The system introduces him, Ichihara Midori, 23 years old, a transcendental who became a hunter at 9 years old and has always demonstrated superior strength that no one can deny. His title as the world's strongest, he can crush thousands of monsters in the blink of an eye. His sharp gaze can take the lives of weak monsters or inexperienced hunters. He is the one who single-handedly resolved the monster riot 15 years ago and the giant monster outbreak 5 years ago, a living legend. In Minato's eyes, an aura always radiates around Midori, making everyone look his way. Midori cheerfully comes to shake hands with Minato. "Look at that, Minato. Congratulations on passing the Hunter exam." His enthusiasm makes Minato feel a bit awkward. He can only offer his hand hesitantly. Thank you." Inside, Midori's surprise and confusion are clear. How does he know my name? Not paying attention to Minato's attitude, Midori casually continues. "All right then. Now we will proceed with the supplementary test. That is..." He pauses for a few seconds, then smiles brightly and announces, "Getting hammered by the strongest person in the world." Hearing the announcement, Minato is momentarily panicked and instinctively raises his volume, asking back, "Huh?" A deep voice reaches his ears, calling his name, Minato. Rachiro exudes a terrifying, overwhelming power. His eyes are full of passion, urging him, "Hurry up and hand over your body to me." By now, many students have gathered around on the school grounds. Everyone is buzzing with discussion. Is it really Ichihara Midori? I can't believe it. But Midori doesn't care about the crowd. He explains further. The rules are very simple. In the next minute, if you can land one hit on me, you win. He points to the sky. I guarantee that even if you lose, you won't be punished. And I will only attack every 10 seconds. Midori glances at Minato's bewildered, fearful face and comforts him. Don't worry, I'll go easy on you. Midori thoughtfully adds, oh, and I won't use any special skills, but feel free to do whatever you want. I've already prepared weapons. Use whatever you like. Around him, countless types of weapons appear, from swords and guns to cannons, all piled into a heap. Minato stares at the reality of it. He hasn't even recovered from his shock yet. His jaw dropped in disbelief, struggling to process what was happening. A makeup exam. How did things get this out of hand? He looked at Midori, who was still smiling and greeting the students, and thought to himself, is this for real? Am I supposed to fight Ichihara Midori, the guy they call the strongest in the world? After a moment of hesitation, he asked, am I allowed to use a weapon? Midori picked up his own blade and replied calmly, of course. My body is actually harder than metal, you know. Suddenly, a flash of light. Midori's blade was snapped in two, but he just said casually, it doesn't matter what sword you bring, I can break them all the same. Minato was left absolutely stunned by that display of power. Cold sweat began to pour down his body while Vechiro, who had been noisy until now, started shouting at him. Minato, hurry up and hand over control. Zetsuero, the spirit possessing him, flared with excitement, yelling, I can't believe this world still has someone like that. The modern era isn't so bad after all, he muttered. Minato, however, could only feel how hyped Zetsuero was. Then he looked back at Midori, who was casually scrolling on his phone. Ichihara Midori. He's truly a monster strong enough to shock even the first ancestor. He glanced at Zetsuero's spirit hovering beside him. I don't stand a chance. But he steeled himself, shaking off the doubt. Minato took a deep breath. His eyes filled with fierce resolve as he looked straight ahead and made a bold decision. Up on the balcony, students were crowding the windows, cheering and filming with excitement. Is this for real? Is Ichihara Midori actually fighting? I have to see this, ignoring the shouting crowd. Minato took his stance. Zekiro, clearly annoyed, grumbled, Hey, you idiot, what are you doing? Just give me the body. Before he could finish, Midori interrupted, holding up his phone to show a countdown timer, 59 seconds remaining. With a smile, he announced, Let's start. Minato gripped his sword tightly as the mark on his hand began to glow, radiating an aura that enveloped his arms. He lunged forward. Jichiro was panicking. Hey, you're really gonna fight him, you moron! Minato ignored him and swung his blade at Midori, who was still focused on his phone. I thought to himself, I know it's hopeless, but... He gripped the hilt with both hands, pouring every ounce of strength into the swing, determined to become a legend himself. I have to experience the power of the legend of this era. Midori moved with the grace of a feather, effortlessly causing Minato's first strike to cut through empty air. Minato launched a flurry of attacks, but Midori dodged them all nonchalantly, chatting while still browsing his phone. So which social media app are you using? Someone's definitely recording this, and they'll probably upload it soon. The crowd gasped and cheered. Is he dodging every single hit while looking at his phone? As expected of Ichihara Midori. Ignoring the chatter, Minato stayed focused, hunting for an opening. His sword swings sliced the air, leaving trails of light behind. Midori easily sidestepped a diagonal slash. Minato gritted his teeth and tightened his grip. The power flared at the blade's edge, sending the students into a frenzy. Whoa, that's insane! He hasn't landed a single hit! Yet someone noticed something odd. Wait, something's off. What do you mean, the speed of that guy Minato's attacks? It doesn't look like he's slowing down. Minato kept attacking, though he still couldn't touch Midori. He kept swinging his mind, visualizing every move. A diagonal slash, a horizontal swing, a left-right combo, a direct strike, and a finishing move. Midori avoided them all with casual ease, but Minato was secretly enjoying it. This is incredible. My body is moving exactly how I want it to, and I don't feel tired at all. Minato remembered the previous battle and wondered if it was because he'd let the first ancestor take control. I can feel my body changing. Suddenly, Midori pointed a finger at his forehead and announced, 10 seconds. A blast of energy whistled past Minato's face. Minato's jaw dropped. A terrifying amount of power had erupted from Midori's fingertip. He had fired a direct shot and Minato only narrowly dodged it. His eyes filled with fear as he looked at the deep trench the attack had carved into the ground. Minato thought, and he called that going easy on me. If I hadn't dodged that, my head would have been blown off. Meanwhile, Midori looked at his own hand in confusion, his brow furrowing. That's strange. I was certain I controlled my output. Midori watched Minato retake his stance, filled with doubt. Why don't I feel any sense of danger from Minato? Could it be across from him? Minato was restless, thinking, if this keeps up, the kid is going to get killed. He remembered his own state from before. He told himself he had to recall that feeling of overwhelming power. As soon as he thought that, Minato's body suddenly surged with strength. His eyes locked onto his opponent with fierce determination, and the shift in his presence made Midori stop and exclaim in surprise. Minato didn't hesitate. He rushed forward, swinging his sword toward Midori. The students filming were horrified. No way, his speed just increased again. Whoa! Minato's movements were a blur on the screens. They're both too fast. The camera can't even keep up, Midori continued to dodge while silently assessing him. His swing speed is faster than before, Midori wondered. But when I fought that S-class monster, he was much faster than this. The very atmosphere feels different. Is there some kind of condition needed to trigger that power? Or is he hiding something? He glances at his watch. 41 seconds left. He just realized, oh crap. Midori's eyes lock onto Minato. This time he is agile, dodging just as Minato's blade swings horizontally. How is that possible? He sets his stance, then flicks a finger at Minato. An terrifying blast of energy erupts, sending Minato flying into the wall with such force that it shatters. Taking a hit like that, it makes Minato cough up a pool of blood. Watching the scene after Midori's attack, he can't stop thinking, this is insane, it's too insane, this is crazy. His opponent is the world's strongest transcendent. A strike like that? Minato is so worked up he starts to laugh. If this were the old me, I'd be dead for sure. Amazing. Have I really become this strong? Suddenly his vision starts to blur, but with his current strength, he still hasn't passed Ichihara Midori's test. No matter, he regains his focus and charges again. Fight with everything you've got for the time remaining. Midori expressionless sidesteps Minato's reckless strike, but Minato looks up in fear. The mark on Midori's hand is blindingly bright. Midori looks at Minato coldly and speaks, too bad, but I've already figured you out. 30 seconds, he says. Midori strikes the back of Minato's neck hard. Minato's eyes go dim, and he fades into darkness. Midori looks at Minato lying motionless on the ground and sighs. Truly talented. Still, you aren't qualified to be my teammate yet. Midori reflects on last night watching Minato fight, wondering, what on earth is that power? I still can't quite grasp it. Without wasting time, Midori turns away to make a call. Hello, Jin, let's head back. Yeah, it's a shame, but I guess it wasn't what I expected. Suddenly, Minato's hand tightens around his sword. A cold voice rings out. Who said it wasn't what you expected? Minato's voice carries an intense pressure that startles Midori. Behind him, Minato is enveloped in a glow. The overwhelming power inside Minato's body belongs to Yachiiro, who has taken control. He says excitedly, thanks to that stubborn kid falling asleep, I finally get to drive this body. Minato carries his sword on his shoulder, facing Midori with a provocation. Seeing Minato wake up and radiate such energy, Midori's eyes are full of excitement while Minato looks visibly delighted. Let's play a little longer, shall we? In the subconscious, Minato floats, watching his own body worriedly thinking, Reichiru. Midori facing the energy. Minato is emitting smiles excitedly. That's it. He recalls the moment he attacked earlier. Midori thinks just now, this is the aura that made me lose control. But Midori secretly wonders, is it someone else? Or some kind of skill? Whatever it is, he's turned into a real monster. He considers various possibilities regarding this massive blue energy. Suddenly, Minato yells, grabbing his attention. Don't just stand there like a statue. He slashes down. The blue blade carries massive power. The blade forces Midori to nimbly dodge to the side. Coldly, he assesses his movements have changed. The speed and power are on a completely different level. From the very beginning, that's swordsmanship. Midori's eyes sharpen, glancing at the sword tip right in front of him. A strike full of inner strength from Minato stabs straight forward. Luckily, Midori quickly jumps backward and evades it. However, the pressure forces him out of the blade's range. He still stares blankly at the scene before him. Minato doesn't wait for his opponent to recover. He rushes into a prepared stance, his face twisted in a slightly manic expression. Midori crouches, dodging a horizontal slash that cuts through the air. The force of it impacts the school building behind them. Students inside scream in panic and run. Oh, dangerous. Midori is intrigued, silently admiring. It's completely different from before. Every strike is cautious. Now he swings his sword with such skill as if he already knows how his opponent will dodge. He continues to visualize a scene, describing it like flowing water, not like raging, unpredictable waves. Thinking this, Midori raises a hand to comment. As expected of the one who defeated the S-class monster. Suddenly, Midori swings his hand with an arrogant smile and yells, 40 seconds, power shoots out directly from Midori. However, Minato's flexible body dodges it. Boastfully, he shouts, too easy. Minato swings his sword to attack. The blade clashes with Midori's technique, releasing massive energy. The attack leaves Midori in a freefall, but Midori just laughs happily. It's as if he hasn't met a worthy opponent in a long time. Students standing on the upper floors witness the battle unfolding. They continue to chatter noisily. Unbelievable. Ichihara Midori, the one known as the world's strongest, is actually on the defensive. Minato ignores the noise and resumes his fighting stance. He says with disgust, I'm bored to death. Forget those stupid rules and just attack me. His face distorts with rage, face turning red. He shouts, if you're still holding back, don't blame me for being ruthless. Finished. He launches himself at his opponent, his whole body springing off the ground. It catches Midori off guard, who scrambles to retaliate. Midori is also laughing maniacally, now his eyes looking cruelly at Minato. A good attack. Finished, Midori uses his foot to flick a small stone up. Then, using his power, he kicks it straight at the pile of weapons. This action sends the whole heap of weapons flying into the sky before Minato's stunned eyes. Suddenly, in a flash, Midori leaps high into the air. Minato glanced in the direction Midori was heading, only to see him wielding a massive club ready to strike. Midori grinned, leaping down with the weapon gripped in both hands. Seeing this, Minato's expression lit up with excitement as he roared, "That's what I'm talking about!" to the onlookers. The fight looked like a fast-forwarded action movie. They could only see streaks of dazzling blue light in the air, and they hesitated, murmuring, well, let's wrap this up. But inside that blur of light, the two were locked in a fierce battle, one with a sword, and the other with an endless array of weapons, both clashing in a frenzy reflected in the wild look on Zekiro's face. Watching from beyond, the souls of the ancestors cheered, oh, it seems Zekiro has fully awakened. They hovered around excitedly discussing, it's truly incredible to be able to go toe-to-toe with someone like that. The guardian Hyoma joined in, seems fun, I'm jealous. But the heavenly bird Carol countered, it's just a shame. Thinking back to Minato's exhausted state earlier that morning, he remarked, this kid's body still isn't strong enough to fully unleash Zekiro's power. The others agreed, discussing, should we join in for fun? Old man, don't ruin the show, they countered, contrasting with the earlier excitement. Only the pink-haired girl remained silent, watching as she spotted Minato's true soul standing silently before the holographic match display. Minato muttered to himself, watching the projection as it swiped. Slash diagonally, then a direct thrust. Every move Zekiro made within Minato's body was clearly mapped on the screen, and Minato's own hands tried to mimic those exact movements. He kept whispering, wrist to the right, no, the left. It looked like he was studying intently. From the bottom up, shift the center of gravity forward. Just then the two weapons collided. The pressure was too much and both weapons snapped in two. Minato glared at the half-blade lying on the ground. Damn it, my sword! But on the other side, Midori calmly tossed his weapon away. He lunged forward again, holding his phone, feeling better than ever. Amazing. This isn't just fun, it's exhilarating. His mind raced. You're out of swords. Use a blunt weapon, a gun, or maybe... Midori laughed with manic excitement. 10 seconds left, what are you going to do? Ignoring the provocation. Minato glanced toward the school building to find a weapon, then leapt into the air with all his might, heading straight for the guy in the tank top. The guy was just standing there by the window, dazed. Minato acted decisively, snatching the sword right off the man's hip. The man instinctively yelled while Minato calmly said, "Thanks for the loan." Right after grabbing the sword, Midori leapt up to close the distance, swinging his fist at Minato and creating a massive explosion. The blast echoed across the sky and white smoke billowed out. Suddenly, Minato shot out from the smoke, seemingly unfazed by the explosion. The two continued to trade blows at close range, creating eye-catching streaks of blue light and massive shockwaves. Perhaps it had been a long time since Midori had met such an evenly matched opponent. He laughed delightedly, clearly savoring the fight. "Ha ha, this is so interesting, let's keep going." While the other students panicked that the school would surely crumble to pieces, the guy in the black tank top was only focused on his stolen sword, heartbroken. He stared at his empty scabbard. My sword. Suddenly, Midori spotted a giant fan embedded in the building's wall. Midori lunged, grabbed the fan, and exerted such force that his handprints left cracks on the metal. Minato faltered for a moment, sensing the surge of powerful energy. From above, Midori raised the fan and dove down. He stared coldly at Minato, pouring strength into his arm. Right at that moment, Minato shouted, "Hinoki Itorio!" A grid appeared, slicing the fan. Midori was wielding into square blocks. Hanano Saikoro. The blocks detached and rained down onto the ground. Midori froze for a few seconds, then cheered in admiration. Absolutely amazing. Minato, still fully focused, lunged forward and yelled, "Take this!" Suddenly, his sword shattered into pieces. His eyes widened in shock. Midori seized the opportunity and struck. Midori looked coldly at Minato and said, 60 seconds. Now both of them were in free fall through the air. Midori unleashed his power, aiming to strike him down. The action caused Zekiro's soul to curse in annoyance. Damn it, it's not over yet. The true soul of... Minato stepped forward to pull Zekiro back. Minato pushed Zekiro to the back, letting his own soul fly up to take control of the body, making the spirit worryingly call out, "Minato." A moment later, his soul had re-entered the body. Before him, Midori's attack was closing in. Minato reached out, lightly touching Midori's hand, and used the force of the impact. The power in Midori's hand was deflected, and his body narrowly dodged Midori's strike. This last move of his left both Zekiro and Midori. In utter disbelief, Minato's hand was bent and twisted, but he remained full of spirit. Take this. Even though he was bleeding all over, he confidently swung his other fist. Finally, his fist landed right in front of Midori. The image of their battle shimmered, a clash between the strongest, not just a simple fight, but a quest for the ultimate truth. In a sea of possibilities. It was like a chess match between two masters, every move hidden with subtlety and unpredictability. However, when Itorio watched the small screen before him, he stuttered in astonishment. That kid. He remembered the scene just a moment ago, right when Minato had smiled triumphantly, raised his hand, and said, "Take this." He thought, stunned, wait a second. In that brief moment, he created a new path. A path that neither I nor he could have seen. The more Zekiro thought about it, the happier he became, his eyes sparkling with excitement. So this is the path this kid has chosen. Midori and Minato were free-falling, but suddenly Midori grabbed Minato's arm, turning his triumph into surprise. Midori held on tight to that one remaining arm. Still unscathed, his playful attitude from before had vanished. Midori stared intently at the incoming attack while Minato watched his own fist just a fraction of an inch from touching Midori's face, unable to hold back his frustration. Minato gritted his teeth, looking at his hand that was now being held in place. "No way," he muttered. Midori smiled slightly, his hand still gripping Minato's arm tightly. Then Midori suddenly pulled him in close. Thud. He pulled Minato's fist right into his own face. Minato's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. He never expected this. Midori didn't seem to care, his eyes crinkling into a bright smile as he said, "Gotcha." The moment Midori spoke, they both plummeted straight onto the school grounds, crashing into a pile of rubble and sending a thick cloud of white dust billowing into the air. Students on the upper floors were buzzing with commotion, all sharing the same burning question, who exactly had won? As the scene below gradually cleared, Midori was seen carrying Minato. Minato was exhausted and couldn't move his arm, broken badly. Midori called out to the woman standing with them, "Jin, let's go." She appeared from nowhere, stepping closer and asking, "How did it go?" Midori replied with a beaming smile, Gotcha. This guy is actually pretty interesting. Anyway, my arm is completely numb. Help me heal it." Jin didn't look at Midori, just coldly replied, "Fine." The male students on the floor above heard the conversation and turned to each other with looks of pure shock. "Hey, did he just say gotcha?" The realization hit them all and they screamed in horror. He actually landed a hit on Ichihara Midori. How did he manage that? The deafening roar of the crowd made Minato jolt awake. Seeing him stir, Jin said, "I'm healing your arm, don't move." Minato looked over, flustered, and stammered, Thank you." Jin looked at him, a faint smile on her lips, and added, "Congratulations on passing the exam." Minato closed his eyes and managed a forced smile, saying, "Thanks." But as soon as the words left his mouth, he bolted upright in surprise. "Passed! I actually hit Ichihara Midori." Midori was lying on the ground nearby, propping himself up on one elbow, grinning. My, how rude of you to forget. Minato spun around to look at Midori and shrieked in shock. What, oh my god, he's actually here. Midori stood up, dusted himself off, and said, the thing is, even though I added a few bonus points for you, you did pass the test regardless. Midori continued. That relentless attack you pulled off earlier. Hearing him describe it, Minato remembered the moment. Ah, he noted. That was Jichiro. But more importantly, Midori recalled the fight, admiring the way you moved to dodge my attacks was truly spectacular. Midori smiled at him encouragingly. Be proud of yourself. Minato was stunned. He never expected to be praised like that. After a moment, as if something clicked, Minato asked, by the way, may I ask? Midori turned to him. Minato asked curiously. What happens now that I've passed the exam? Jim heard the question too. She glanced suspiciously at Midori, her eyes narrowing. Her stare left him frozen, unsure how to respond. Minato looked at the awkward silence between the two, confused. The sudden quiet left him with nothing to say, so he just stared at the ruined school grounds after the battle. That quiet evening at Minato's house, the sound of meat sizzling in a pan filled the air. His mother was making dinner and called out, Minato, we have a guest coming over today. Minato was busy wringing out a rag, having scrubbed the floor until it sparkled. Hearing his mother, he jumped, startled. Who, me? It's just one person, surely. His mother looked at him, feeling helpless. This boy. She watched him for a moment before turning back to her cooking. She picked up a rice paddle and said gently, but today really was a wonderful day. You passed the hunter exam and even got recruited by that famous Ichihara Midori. The red bean rice in the pot gave off a mouth-watering aroma. His mother continued to encourage him. I always believed you could do it. Minato couldn't help but feel a warmth in his chest. Thank you, Mom, he replied. Then his mother added, looking worried. But is it really okay for someone that famous to come to our house? Our place is so small, I just hope he doesn't mistake it for a doghouse. Minato panicked at the thought. He immediately reassured her, Mom, Midori isn't like that at all. After finishing his chores, I went back to his room and lay on his bed staring at the business card in his hand, the one from Ichihara Midori. Thinking back to the fight this morning, he couldn't stop wondering. Why didn't he say anything? The scene cut back to the morning. Jin had Midori in a lock, pulling hard to stretch him out, making Midori blush and scream, it hurts, Jin, stop it. Once it was over, Midori said, didn't I tell you that if you won, you'd become my teammate? Minato broke into a sweat. I don't think I heard you say that at all. Midori remembered vaguely, oh, that's right, wasn't it? As Midori finished speaking, her grip on Jin's hand tightened, becoming so painful that he couldn't help but scream, stop it! Midori glanced toward the group of students near the window. Many of them were holding up their phones, recording, and this could easily spread. Midori thought for a moment and said, fine. It's too crowded here, she said, turning to Minato. How about I come over to your place tonight, Minato? We can discuss the details there. Midori gave a cryptic half-smile as she talked to him about the options available to him and who their true enemy was. Cutting back to the room, Minato stared blankly at the ceiling, wondering. The true enemy. I was confused, lost in thought. The tower was destroyed by the progenitors long ago, wasn't it? A modern hunter's job is just to clear out the monsters that escape from spatial rifts, he thought vaguely. Could there really be something else? Minato was lost in thought, and without realizing it, he drifted off to sleep from exhaustion. Suddenly, a voice echoed from somewhere. Minato, wake up! Minato was shaken awake by Jichiro. He jolted up, shouting, Whoa, ah! It took him a moment to shake off the sleep, and he slowly pushed himself up with his hands, looking at Jichiro with confusion. Before his very eyes stood the progenitors. Minato couldn't help but feel bewildered. What are you all doing gathered here? No, what on earth is going on? Vechiro stood before the progenitors, explaining that he had just finished talking with them. Hearing this, Minato was deeply unsettled. Talking about what? He crossed his arms over his chest, panicking. Don't tell me. Have they already decided who gets to possess this body? Vechiro hurriedly tried to explain the situation. Before he could finish, a noise echoed from downstairs. He quickly stepped toward the stairs and said, Sorry, it seems Midori has arrived. We'll talk about that later. When Minato went downstairs, he wondered, Why is it so dark? Seeing the scene before him. Minato froze in shock. He saw his mother lying unconscious on the floor. Mom! He screamed in worry, then rushed toward her. As he ran past the kitchen door, he saw a strange man sitting at the dining table. Minato stopped dead in his tracks. That man, his fingernails were painted in garish colors and he was eating with his bare hands. He popped a piece of meat into his mouth and savored it. The wet chewing sounds he made were absolutely haunting. He swallowed the meat and sneered, "Ugh, this tastes like death." Suddenly he called out, "Hey kid, your mom needs to be re-educated a little." He laughed a twisted, eerie laugh. On the floor, the pot lids and plates were all tossed aside. He arrogantly spat out, "You're supposed to use Wagyu beef to treat a guest. Got that?" Minato's face darkened with rage. He growled, "Who the hell are you? What did you do to my mother?" The man put on an arrogant, mocking tone. "This brat is so bold. How dare you speak to me like that?" Then he flicked his tongue out and popped another piece of meat into his mouth with a chilling, twisted smile. "I'm an S-rank hunter and I'm here to pick you up. Let's head to the association now." Seeing Minato standing frozen, he urged, "What are you waiting for? Are you done packing your stuff? We need to get to our headquarters." Before he even finished, Minato threw a punch at his head. The attack was swift as lightning, radiating a powerful blue aura, but his strikes didn't even touch the man who was already mocking him from behind. "When did you—" Gozu looked at him with disdain. "You want to fight me?" Minato looked at the mess in the kitchen and remembered his mother lying unconscious by the door. In a fit of fury, he roared at the man, "I asked you, what did you do to my mother?" Memories flashed of his father's funeral, his mother hugging him, comforting him. "Minato, Mom will raise you well." He recalled her shoes, old and worn, yet she still insisted on wearing them, forcing a smile. "Oh, it's nothing. They're still wearable. I'm fine, really. You should go buy yourself some new shoes." He remembered her smiling at him just that evening. "You worked hard with your training today. Tonight, Mom will make that pork cutlet you like." Those memories of his mother made his rage boil over. "I'll ask you one more time, what did you do to my mother?" Vechiro watched the hunter through the screen, asking, "He says he's a modern S-rank hunter. Very well, even though I hate copying that Midori person. This match will decide," Vechiro sneered with contempt, "how we deal with you." Minato stared at the S-rank hunter with pure hatred. He could barely hold back his desire to avenge his mother. Gozu smiled mockingly at him, teasing, "Oh, look at that serious face. So cute I could die." After saying that, he raised his hand, aiming his attack straight at Minato. Minato calmly watched him strike, and in just a split second he had grabbed the man's arm. A quick twist threw him off balance, sending him crashing backward. Your technique caught him completely off guard. The move Minato just pulled off stunned Gozu, reminding him of that time he took down the monster. That one belonged to the old man. Since the house didn't offer enough space to fight, Minato put his strength into it and sent Gozu flying right through a wall. Gozu, quick to react, tumbled and recovered. As he stood up, the smirk faded from his face. Gozu was genuinely surprised. What was that? Was that some kind of combo technique? His suspicions grew deeper. "I watched the video of your fight against Midori earlier today. Didn't he only know how to use aura and sword skills like a madman?" Minato stepped closer to Gozu, stating clearly, "It's obvious you're stronger than that rank Kaizen guy." Blue aura radiated around his body as he closed in on Gozu, his voice stern. "Answer my question," he demanded, a flash of killing intent in his eyes. "What did you do to my mother?" Minato's mother lay unconscious on the floor nearby. Purple veins appeared on her neck. She had been poisoned. Gozu flashed a mocking, wide grin. "That tone of voice. You already know, don't you?" he shouted. "It's poison. She was in my way, so I put her to sleep for good." Gozu grew more gleeful, his voice filled with excitement. "If you're lucky, maybe she'll even end up with some permanent damage." Minato lowered his head and said quietly, "I don't understand." His words annoyed Gozu, who barked back, "What are you talking about?" Minato tried to keep himself in check, asking, "Why would you harm the family of your own teammates?" Hearing that, Gozu was taken aback. He hesitated, repeating the word teammates before ruffling his hair, laughing like a maniac because he found it so ridiculous. He immediately dashed behind Minato. Intending to strike him, he cursed, "You idiot." Minato leaped up, successfully dodging his opponent's attack. Gozu lunged at him, yelling, "You are not my teammate. You will become a puppet that listens to me. A weakling like you can only be controlled by kidnapping the people who matter to you, right?" While dodging, Minato suddenly noticed something. Gozu tried to stomp on his foot to pin him down, but Minato escaped just in time. Gozu chuckled dryly. "Are you kidding me?" Minato backed away to keep his distance. Suddenly his cheek felt hot. Gozu had grazed him. Minato eyed Gozu with extreme caution. The side of his face was rapidly turning black and purple. It looked like he had been poisoned. As he saw the toxins spreading, he furrowed his brow. Gozu smirked, raising the hand he had used to attack. His fingertips were covered in needles tipped with poison. He curled his lips. Finished transferring the poison. He smugly revealed small vials of toxins in his hands. I can synthesize thousands of types of poison in my body. It's called the deadly gaze. After the introduction, he complained with boredom. Such a troublesome mission. If I wanted to, I could release a lethal gas within a 5-kilometer radius, but unfortunately that's forbidden inside the city. Gozu's voice dripped with menace. That poison you just took will kill you in 1 minute. Join my guild and I'll give you the antidote. If not, just go ahead and die. Minato froze, standing there in silence. He thought, poison gas that can kill everything within a 5-kilometer radius. Is this the power of an S rank? No wonder they call them human-shaped natural disasters. He narrowed his eyes and silently reached out. Master Wallen, the Alchemy King, are you there? Hearing her name, all the ancestors turned to look at her. She was startled to be called out, but Minato pleaded, please give me the recipe for the antidote. His words left her flustered. Yes. Meanwhile, Gozu saw Minato standing there like a statue muttering strange things. Gozu hurriedly extended his claws, launching purple poison darts while sneering. What are you mumbling about, too scared to move? Minato calmly dodged the incoming attacks. He confirmed to himself the combo technique from earlier was... He hesitated for a split second before saying, Kodo Hero's Godly Strike. Hearing him say that, the old man was stunned, eyes wide. Kodo recalled that moment and replied, as expected of you. You managed to copy my technique after seeing it just once. Minato continued mentioning Hinoki Zekiro's 10,000 Army / Shima Conscious's Green Demon Slayer, and Munjid's Heavenly Palace. He remembered the days when he used to devour books about them. He said, the ancestors I once admired, whose biographies I read countless times, they are all inside me now. Gozu frowned at him, confused. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Minato glared at him and declared, I mean that this much isn't enough to beat me. Minato's provocation worked perfectly on Gozu. Infuriated Gozu frowned in annoyance. Fine, if you don't know fear, then how about pain? With that, Gozu darted toward him, reaching out with his poisoned hands. The corners of his mouth curled into a wide grin. The next toxin will make you beg for death, he said while attacking relentlessly. Minato took the attacks from all sides, but he dodged them all easily like a withered tree about to sprout new life. Gozu still lunged forward boastfully, saying, if you get on your knees and beg, I might consider giving you the antidote, though I'm not sure if it can even cure. A brain already destroyed by the pain. He laughed maniacally as if mocking him. Just as Gozu thought he had backed Minato into a corner, Minato looked up with calm eyes. He focused all his energy to activate his inner seal, shouting, Saintly Fist Wing Strike. Gozu took the hit head-on, coughing up blood incessantly. Wing Strike, watching from afar, was stunned by the situation. Gozu was sent flying back, screaming in pain. Before he could recover, he took a punch to the face that distorted his features, followed by a kick that sent him spiraling even further away. This technique is called Light Speed Kick Allison. She watched her own technique being recreated perfectly, unable to hide her shock. Gozu was pushed back hard, losing his balance and clawing at the ground. He groaned in pain, but Minato didn't care. He quickly closed the distance. Gozu screamed, clasping his hands together and desperately unleashing a wave of poison as he charged. Minato, fast as lightning, bolted toward his opponent. With a swift motion, he pried apart the man's clasped hands, his technique so precise that every one of Gozu's fingers shattered. He then drove his hand straight into his opponent. This was the Kallen bird's beak technique. Keeping his eyes locked on him, he narrowed his gaze, calculating the precision of his next move. Once more, he unleashed his dragon claw strike, leaving the man's entire body covered in wounds. The little dinosaur watched, jaw dropped in shock. Minato grabbed Gozu's body, channeling all his strength into his feet, growling, Gunwa! The ground exploded. Gunwa just stood there with arms crossed, watching the fight. He couldn't find the words. He was just as stunned as anyone. Goku was launched high into the air, completely spent, his mind reeling in panic. What the hell was that? Goku couldn't believe his judgment had been so wrong. I had been so confident that anyone poisoned would panic and lose their composure, not to mention the toxin attacking the nervous system, making it impossible to move. And yet, this kid, Minato, activated his ultimate move. Looking up, a bright golden aura surged from his fingertips, creating a massive blast. Malicious and Silentia stared, completely mesmerized. She seemed enchanted, unable to tear her eyes away. The powerful, blinding light intensified as all the techniques of the progenitors converged upon Gozu, like a test. The progenitors, standing inside, looked up at him in awe. Jichiro smirked proudly, saying, "Did you all see that?" But as they replayed the battle in their minds, he clicked his tongue and remarked, "That day when we wiped out Technica Matora, he only borrowed our power once, yet he was already able to copy and master our techniques, both physical and magical. I don't even know if this is the power of the Void Scripture." The more Zakiro spoke, the more excited he became, shouting, "Doesn't your heart beat faster just seeing this?" Finally, he looked up at Minato, who was holding his mother, and proposed, "Let's train this kid together. If progenitors like us teach him thoroughly," Jichiro declared, "Kaminagi Minato will become the strongest transcendent in history, the likes of which we've never seen." Quick, nimble footsteps echoed as they sprinted and leaped across the rooftops. The men in black dashed like the wind. One of them barked, "Faster!" He glanced back, reminding the others about the person they had just fought. A man trailing behind shouted back, 15 guilds have already sent people to recruit Ichihara Midori." Hearing that, the first man snapped irritably, "We need to move faster then." Suddenly a voice cut in, Midori appeared behind him like a ghost, whispering in his ear, making the man turn pale with fright. "Is that so?" The man gasped in shock. Midori stepped out in front of him, flashing a bright, cheerful smile. 15, huh? So it's like that." He reached his hand out toward the man in black. I wore a smile like an angel's, but his words were that of a demon. "You guys are the last ones." The man in black only had time to scream in desperation before Midori's power struck. Midori didn't wait for him to say another word. I had already slammed him face first into the rooftop. Midori landed on the railing and made a call, "Jin Jin." She understood immediately and reported back, "Yes, we've arrived." Jim slowly hovered down to survey the situation. "Thankfully, I don't sense the aura of any other transcendent." She paused on a telephone pole, intently watching the scene inside the house. Below, Jin's tone suddenly shifted. "But..." Seeing this, Midori questioned, His expression remained as calm as ever. "It seems we're a step too late." Jim calmly reported the identity of the person inside. Tanigoro, an S-rank poison hunter. After a brief pause, she continued, "He's lying collapsed, spread-eagled on the shattered rooftop with residual sparks of lightning still crackling around him." She continued, "Near Minato's house. Gozu has been struck by lightning so hard his eyes are rolled back, tongue hanging out. He looks absolutely pathetic." Midori asked, "Wait, did I hear that right?" Cut to the front of Minato's house. Midori couldn't stop grinning, showering him with endless praise. "Incredible, absolutely incredible." Seeing Gozu tied up tightly, Midori clapped incessantly. "I had predicted this to some extent, but I never expected you could take down an S-rank hunter." The boy just watched Midori silently, not saying a word. After rambling for a bit, he finally remembered to ask, "Are you okay? Did you get poisoned?" Minato scratched his bruised cheek and replied no. He glanced at his mother, sleeping soundly on the sofa. "Both Mom and I are fine." Her face looked so peaceful, completely unaware of the chaos that had just unfolded outside. Iturio stood in the corner. He crossed his arms and questioned Valentine, "What do you mean, fine? If it weren't for Wallenstein, you two would have been greeting the Grim Reaper by now." She couldn't answer, her face turning purple as if she were about to pass away. Valentine leaned against the wall, panting heavily. Huff, huff, huff. If Iturio wasn't going to get an answer, he'd let it slide. After all, it had been resolved. Within 5 seconds, Valentine shifted her eyes away, stammering, I grabbed the antidote from the guy who poisoned me, that's all." Flashes of the moment appeared in her mind. Valentine and Minato, smiling sinisterly, fingers frantically poking at Gozu's body. "Is it here? How about here? Or maybe here?" Cutting back to the two of them. Midori and Minato. He gave a forced smile and explained, "Sorry I'm late. I had to settle a few things with those other guilds." Because of the video from earlier, the footage of the two of them training flashed through his mind. Hearing that, the boy hesitated and repeated, "Those guilds. You mean to tell me you're pointing at Gozu and doubting him? You think he's lying?" "He's not my teammate," Midori said, hands on his hips confirming it. "There are quite a few people who like to impersonate me." Then suddenly he turned to Jean and asked if she was done. You heard him and looked back, noticing her blending into the wall. "You were already there." Staring at the brand new wall, Jin replied solemnly, "I've finished fixing the fence." Minato felt a sudden rush of vertigo, but Midori turned around, a faint aura radiating from him as he said calmly, "Good. Now let's go inside and talk." Minato's eyes widened, stunned by what he heard next about his future. Under a clear blue sky, birds perched on power lines near the front gate as Minato and his mother stood facing each other. She fussed over him with meticulous care. "Have you packed everything? Did you forget anything? Where's your wallet? What about your power bank?" Minato pulled his suitcase and replied, "I've got everything, Mom." The fine lines around her eyes could not hide her growing anxiety. Flashback to yesterday when they were all sitting down for a serious conversation. Minato's mother seemed to be double-checking. "You want to take our Minato?" Midori placed his hands on the table and smiled faintly. "Yes, he has immense potential. I want to take him on as my student and train him to become an elite hunter." Minato slammed the table and jumped up, his face filled with an excitement he'd never felt before. "Mama, I've been scouted by Mr. Midori." But his mother's expression was sorrowful, her eyes brimming with tears. Seeing that, Minato lowered his voice. "Mom." Returning to the present, she happily handed him a lunch bag, not forgetting to remind him, "Take this lunchbox. You haven't had breakfast yet. I packed it in a disposable container for you. Go ahead and enjoy it." Minato was taken aback by his mother's change in attitude. "Oh, thanks, Mom." But his eyes dropped heavy with sadness as the memories of yesterday flooded back. Minato's mother had asked, still hesitant and troubled, "This work, it's definitely dangerous, isn't it?" The room fell into a heavy silence. A moment later, Midori spoke softly. "Yes, it is." Minato's mother bowed her head, recounting Minato has always admired the legendary progenitors. He's always yearned to be a hunter. "I remember the times he came home beaten and bruised, and my heart ached like it was being crushed. Being accepted by Mr. Midori is a great honor, but as parents we can't help but worry." Midori interlaced his fingers, his voice grave. "You're right. This line of work carries many risks. While I cannot make any guarantees, I can certainly—" His gaze remained fixed, looking directly at Minato's mother. "I promise to train him well so he can become strong and resilient, as strong as the progenitors themselves." Minato's mother's eyes shimmered with tears. "Mr. Midori." She bowed her head, pleading, "Please take care of my son." Scene shift. Jin and Midori are in the car waiting for Minato. Jim turned to him and asked seriously, "Are you sure about that promise? Are you certain? No matter what happens?" Midori said nothing, watching the mother and son talking through the rearview mirror. She was reminding him of everything. "Don't sleep with your shirt rolled up. You catch a cold every time, and when you do the laundry, remember to separate the colors." Minato sighed. "Mom, are you talking about the old days again?" But he still replied earnestly, "I know, Mom, I know." Midori's eyes were pensive. "I will keep my promise at any cost." Moments later, Minato pulled his suitcase to the car door and turned back to remind her it's getting late. He smiled, waving goodbye. "Goodbye, Mom." Looking at his mother's small aging figure, Minato promised, "I'll come back to visit you, I swear." Just as he was about to close the door, his mother called out, "Minato!" She smiled faintly, though her eyes were shining with tears. "Remember to come visit me often." Minato couldn't hold back his own tears. After steadying his emotions, he apologized for keeping everyone waiting. As the car pulled away, Midori checked in once more. "It's decided then, isn't it?" Minato nodded without hesitation. He hung his head, not daring to look back. If he saw his mother right now, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to bring myself to leave. Midori reclined his seat to relax. "Then let's go. It's going to be a long journey. Remember to eat well and get some rest." Minato sadly looked at the lunch bag his mother had prepared. He reached out and slowly opened it, his mind echoing her words, "Take this lunchbox. You haven't had breakfast yet." He lifted the lid, curious. Suddenly his eyes widened and welled up with tears. His mother had written a note of encouragement inside the lid. "Do your best, Minato." He couldn't take his eyes off those words. They were etched into his mind. Minato recalled memories of when his father passed away back when he was too young to understand, and his mother holding him close in her grief, and the time she excitedly tried on new shoes, or when she smiled gently at him. Minato folded his hands in gratitude. "I'll enjoy this." He ate every bite greedily. Tears fell without him even realizing it. Minato couldn't help but exclaim, "This is so good." Up front, Jin stayed focused on driving while Midori rested lazily unbothered. The car sped through the bustling city toward the rolling hills. He looked outside, his jaw dropping in amazement. "This is it," Midori spoke nonchalantly. "Welcome." 3 massive gates slowly creaked open. A national organization that only the most transcendent individuals could ever join. A colossal mansion appeared before his eyes. the Great Prophecy Force, or also known as the Grand Oracle. Welcome to headquarters. Minato was still stunned, staring blankly as he repeated the Grand Oracle. A young man with white hair stood on the upper floor pensively watching the car pull in. Hey, look at this. The guy is live streaming it, everyone check it out. The white-haired kid is announcing a new recruit. The girl who was just sleeping gets a phone notification. Who is it? AK, sipping on his drink, says, a new teammate, huh? She laughs. Oh, a fresh face, how fun. Shinji clicks his tongue, looking annoyed. Tsh! He walks up to the window checking out the teammate. Shouldn't we test him first? Shinji's face darkens, his voice ice cold. We have to see if he's actually worthy of joining the Grand Prophets first. Minato stares at the massive mansion in front of him. He stammers, completely speechless. Minato, confused, asks, what even is this place? Isn't this Midori's guild? Hearing that, Jim suddenly remembers. Oh, sorry, I forgot to explain. She explains seriously. Since this is a state secret, I couldn't say anything in front of your mother. Minato's jaw drops. A state secret, he yells in shock. Jin replies calmly, that's right. Midori, who had been quiet, finally speaks up. I'll give you the details later. Everyone gets out of the car. He turns to Minato and says, for now, go drop your stuff off at the dorms. She walks over, offering help. Let me carry that for you. Still in shock from the big news. It's fine, I've got it. Suddenly a loud shout rings out. Wait, wait, wait. It scares Minato so bad he almost wets himself. He looks up to see Hiko yelling from above. Let me teach you some manners. Before he even finishes his threat, Hiko dives down like a maniac, aiming a kick at Minato. Luckily, he blocks it just in time. The sheer pressure cracks the ground under Minato's feet. Hiko grins, clearly enjoying the fight. Hey, you dare face me head-on, not bad. Minato grits his teeth, trying to hold his ground. What is with this guy? Hiko leaps up, doing a smooth backflip that leaves Minato off balance, causing him to stumble back. Hiko lands, puts a hand on his chest, and gives a formal bow. He flashes a peace sign and says, let me introduce myself. I'm Hanada Hikotaro, your teammate and classmate. Minato is just exhausted. Did anyone ask? Midori leans against the car, signaling Jin to pour some tea. Go on? Jim skillfully pours the tea. Yes. The two of them stand there casually watching the action movie between Hiko and Minato. Minato is gritting his teeth, desperately trying to defend himself. What the hell are you doing? Hiko, still acting like it's no big deal, replies. Obviously. Hiko laughs and kicks him hard. To teach you about the Grand Prophets, of course, by testing your strength. Minato didn't see this coming, a test. Hiko jumps, spinning his leg with full force, aiming directly for Minato's chest. Minato crosses his arms, struggling to block. Hiko jumps up, strikes a pose, and even winks. First, let me tell you the origin of the Prophet forces. Minato thinks bitterly. Is this guy actually going to lecture me while we fight? She laughs brightly and rushes in. Oh, right. Before that, let me ask you something. Minato isn't going down without a fight. He lunges forward, screaming, Kaminagi Minato. Meanwhile, off in a corner, he's sipping tea and watching the drama. He complains about everything he's been through. After finishing the hunter exam at the vocational school, I even finished the supplementary test. Why did I get challenged by an S-rank hunter and now I'm being tested here too? Midori sits there leisurely with her tea, chatting with her. Do you think his whole life is just one endless chain of tests? Jin doesn't answer right away. After all, she looks at the boy struggling to dodge the attacks. He is the one Midori brought back after all. Hiko attacks while asking, so first question, what is a hunter's job? Minato recalls what he learned and quickly answers to quickly eliminate monsters that escape from spatial rifts. Hiko jumps up and gives him 2 thumbs up. Correct, but he still doesn't give up on trying to kick Minato down. Minato nimbly ducks, dodging the blow. She lands on the ground, turns around, and explains briefly, in other words, it's just like pest control. Then he hits him with another question. What about other types of disasters? Minato's eyes go wide, confused. Other disasters? Hiko smiles and explains, yeah, in this world, there are disasters even worse than spatial rifts. In his mind, images flash of savage, crazed wolves tearing things apart, blood splattering everywhere. The monster riot from 15 years ago. Then the massive monster outbreak 5 years ago. Undead corpses rising from their graves with glowing red eyes. Minato is visibly shaken. No wonders, aren't those just disasters caused by large-scale spatial rifts? A sudden burst of power flies at him. It's Hiko. Taking advantage of Minato's distraction, he strikes, leaving him with no time to guard. Hiko says nonchalantly, exactly. Minato is blown away. He can only hear Hiko's voice calling out, "That's what they teach you at the vocational school, and that's all the public knows." He walks over to him, his tone changing. But as she jumps up and raises her leg high to Minato's horror, she uses all her strength to kick the spot to where he was standing. She shouts, "The truth is completely different." The tree shakes violently, sending a flock of birds scattering. Luckily, Minato managed to dodge. Too bad for the tree, it was sliced in two. Hiko glances over, his voice now chillingly cold. That was an invasion from another world. Images of monsters swarming a tower fill the scene. The sea of flames in Hiko's mind was as terrifying as the tower of monsters that appeared 300 years ago. A super catastrophe. Minato just stared, completely bewildered, not understanding the scale of this tower. Hiko seemed to read his mind. "That's right. Their invasion hasn't ended yet." I explained calmly. "Someone from the world beyond has always been trying to invade our world," Hiko continued. But as the hands began to surround Minato, Hiko stepped closer, adding, "Compared to the era of the tower, the power of the transcendence has faded significantly, and those who possess strength, like the progenitors, can be counted on one hand." Minato stepped back wary. "Then, what are we supposed to do?" Hiko gave a faint smile. "That is why we exist." He placed one hand on his forehead and one on his chest, revealing the mark of the oracle force, and struck a one-legged pose. "Those with the ability to foresee and predict will find the omens of disaster, and the chosen ones will fight against them." He kept his hand firmly over his chest. Hiko's eyes gleamed. "That is us, the great oracle." The person watching the whole process gave a slight smirk, while Jin, standing nearby, remained as stoic as ever. Minato was still lost, trying to grasp the core of the prophecy regarding the organization fighting the disaster. Hiko stepped closer to welcome him. "And from today, you are also one of us." He didn't forget to add, "You're the first person in your class who has been able to block so many of my attacks in a row." When she smiled brightly and reached out to welcome him, Minato hesitated, then reached out to shake her hand, answering awkwardly, "It's very nice to meet everyone." A round of applause erupted. Midori couldn't stop grinning, clapping continuously, while Jin beside her clapped with a serious face. Hiko took Minato's hand and looked up to announce to the others, "Hey everyone, I've officially approved Minato." As she looked up at the figures watching from above to gauge their reactions, she asked, "What about you guys?" Each face held a different emotion. No one knew what they were thinking. They didn't say a word and just left one by one. It left Minato feeling a bit awkward. Midori was 3 parts helpless and 7 parts annoyed. They really are like ninjas, disappearing just like that. Hiko spread his hands and shook his head. I guess they have to verify it for themselves." He turned to Midori. "Midori, let me take him." He chuckled, looking as if he'd just gotten rid of a burden. "Oh, then I'll leave him to you." Hiko grabbed Minato's suitcase and led him to a large door. "Follow me, I'll take you to the dorms. Give that suitcase to me." Minato hesitated. Thank you, Hiko." "Just call me Hikotaro," he said softly. The moon had risen high. Minato sat alone in his single room in the Great Oracle dorms. Note: original text repeats some context regarding the dorm name. Minato sat alone in his room. He let out a long sigh. Phew. Minato mused over everything Hiko had told him. A super catastrophe. An organization fighting against a prophecy. The image of the tower disaster flashed through his mind. 300 years ago. Minato still wondered if there was any catastrophe equal to the tower that the progenitor had defeated. If such a prophecy exists, will I be able to fight? I thought for a while, then ruffled his hair in frustration. Ugh, I'm so worried. Suddenly, a pair of feet appeared. The person answered his question, then just get stronger. Startled, Minato looked up. Ituryu had been standing there with his arms crossed the whole time. Behind him stood the group of progenitors, including Vechiro. Ituryu stepped forward. Because of this and that, I forgot to tell you something. Minato looked blank, not knowing what Ituryu meant. We have decided what to do with you from now on. We? He stared straight into Minato's eyes. Are going to turn you into the strongest transcendent. Ituryu promised seriously, even that guy Midori. We all believe that you have the potential to surpass all of us and become the strongest transcendent to ever exist. Minato's eyes sparkled. He listened intently to every word. Kaminagi Minato. Become the student of all us progenitors. Minato opened his eyes wide and repeated, "Student." He looked up at them as if to confirm, "Of all of you." Ituryu crossed his arms and replied, "That's right, the student of all yus progenitors." Minato didn't understand what they were thinking. "Why, didn't you want to take over my body at first?" Ituryu tilted his head to explain. "Heh heh heh, of course we did, but if we did that..." He looked at the dangerous-looking group behind him. Ituryu continued, "We would have to fight each other to claim this body." Minato was horrified. A survival battle progenitor version. Minato quickly tried to stop them. "Don't fight over me!" Seeing his bewildered look, Ituryu spoke up. "Actually, we thought that way at first too. But after observing you, we changed our minds." Ituryu looked at him with a strange gaze. "Compared to using your body..." Everyone behind him stared at Minato without blinking. He looked up at them, his eyes bright. "Training you seems more interesting. I brought up yesterday when he defeated the Poison Master." Ituryu recalled the moment Gozu lunged at him. He compared the techniques Minato used to their own, noting, "You were able to copy and use the techniques we once used. Of course, compared to us, the power and precision are still far off, but at least you achieved results." Every word was like a light shining down on Minato. "Do you know how incredible that is?" He clasped his hands tightly, listening to every word of praise. "I don't know if it's the effect of the Void script or not." Ituryu smiled encouragingly, "But your talent is your ability to absorb, and that ability is superior to any progenitor among us." Minato's hands were clenched so tight his veins popped. He lifted his head, tears streaming down his face as he listened. Tears welled up in Minato's eyes as he remembered his teacher resting his chin on his hand with a look of boredom, muttering to a colleague, "That kid has absolutely zero talent," the teacher had said, while the one next to him looked on helplessly at Minato, who was sweating buckets, face bright red from the effort, not knowing what to do. No one had ever expected anything from him. Painful memories flooded back. Minato being stepped on and looked down upon by his peers, told, "Just stay in your lane. You loser," they'd say. He'd had his phone stolen and was mocked mercilessly. "What the hell is this? It's the first time I've seen someone fail the hunter exam 3 times. They laughed, finding joy in his misery. "Just stop already." The reporters were gossiping. "What's his name again?" one asked with a sneer. Another replied dismissively, "Who cares? Why would anyone bother knowing?" Then suddenly the oracle appeared from above, reaching out a hand. What was his name again? Nobody had any faith in his future. Then better memories surfaced yesterday when Midori had wanted to take Minato as her student, yet her son. But now he was receiving praise from Ituryu for having great potential, someone who met all the requirements. Minato hung his head. His hands were clenched tight. He has the makings to become the greatest transcendent ever. Tears fell as he doubted himself. "Are you really okay, kid? Am I actually worthy?" He wondered, thinking of that bright smile from the past, dreaming of such wonderful things, the people he had always admired. Minato hung his head, trembling before the primordials. "They're pinning their hopes on me." The man smiled gently, and Ituryu draping an arm over his shoulder in comfort. "What are you crying for?" Looking around at everyone, he said gently, "We are living inside a human body after all." The primordials smiled kindly, as if in agreement with Ituryu. "Especially when you're asleep, we can manipulate time and space much more freely than in reality," he stated calmly. "From now on, we will train you for 100 hours every day in real time." An image of the Prophet Council smiling confidently appeared. "By day you fight against the prophecy." Ituryu created a vast space, pulling him inside. At night he and the others struck a super cool pose. "Sleep and train with us," they all shouted, raising their hands in unison. "From now on, you'll never get a good night's sleep again," Ituryu said with an arrogant smirk. "But you've prepared yourself for this, right?" Minato stood there stunned for a moment, tears streaming down his face, and answered with determination, "Yes." Minato bowed his head, pleading, "Please teach me." The moon rose high and the space fell silent. The sun rose again, shining through the trees. As she hummed and washed her face, a pair of feet walked by slowly. Hiko turned, surprised. "Oh." Minato greeted him with a huge yawn. "Morning, Hiko." Minato's dazed state made him laugh. "Morning, Minato. You look exhausted." As he brushed his teeth, he muttered, "Yeah, I'm still not used to it." Hiko put his hands on his hips and laughed. "Hey, I get it. The first day I came here." He glanced over and saw Minato rinsing his mouth. Just as he was about to bring the cup to his mouth, Hiko's eyes flashed. Hiko used every ounce of strength he had to kick at Minato, but he dodged it effortlessly. Minato didn't even care, just bent over to spit out the water. Yeah, he turned around and walked away. He didn't forget to throw a jab at him. Don't strain yourself so early in the morning when you're not even awake yet. I'm going to the cafeteria. And he left Hiko standing there frozen. It took a moment for him to regain his composure. Huh. Hiko watched Minato's still sleepy figure and wondered, my kick was clearly faster than it was yesterday. In the Oracle's cafeteria, everyone was eating and chatting. He trailed after him looking for a seat. Oh, lucky there's one spot left. A fork skewered a piece of fresh fruit. As she laughed, she asked, mind if I sit here? Little Akon didn't even care, focused on eating. Without waiting for her answer, he sat down naturally and pulled Minato along. Sit. I hesitated a bit. Then, Minato realized this was the classmate Hiko had mentioned yesterday. Akon scowled and muttered reluctantly, welcome to the Great Oracle. Looking at her grumpy face, he felt awkward. Seems like she isn't exactly welcoming me, he thought, but Minato still smiled and greeted her back. Looking forward to working with you. I'm Kaminagi Minato. She immediately turned up her nose, acting all high and mighty. I don't know you. I don't know you. I didn't hear anything. I don't need to remember. Akon pointed her fork right at his face, declaring, when you're recognized by me, then I'll call you by your name. She put her hands on her hips and smiled confidently. Time for training. Later we'll deal with the prophecy. Come with me. Snow covered everything. Hidden somewhere, catching the last bit of sunlight in a small house, the first book of prophecy was discovered. In 1945, at the South Pole, buried 3,000 meters deep in the ice, Enro was there. Wearing a thick coat, he picked up a book in shock. What is this? The cover slowly revealed itself, already bearing a title that would terrify anyone. Book of Doom. It seemed harmless, but carried incredible, mysterious secrets within. The book, with its scrawled writing, was written by a child in the 80s, recording the disasters that would submerge the world, and even now it continues to unfold. Back to the present in a small car rolling down the road. Why do they believe in that book? Minato turned around. Hey you! I was shy in the car with the 5 people. I don't even know your name yet. The girl with the twin pigtails said, that's Akon. Damn, that name sounds almost like a chemical formula. Is that really necessary? Answer my question already. Minato looks stunned. Has the prophecy actually come true? She turns to him speechless. You idiot, Akon says angrily. If just one prophecy from the Book of Doom came true, this world would have been destroyed ages ago. Good grief. Hearing the word, destroyed, he gapes in horror. What? He turns to the blonde guy sitting next to him. Hiko, how many prophecies are there? He grins even brighter than his neon yellow hair and holds up 2 fingers. About 200. Minato looks even more shocked. Isn't this world way too dangerous? Midori in the passenger seat glances back. But the great prophet has already prevented about 180 of them. The boy in the back jumps and shouts, amazing! Minato turns curious again. Then what about the ones before that? What's the reason the world actually believes in that book? Akon rests her chin on her hand and answers slowly, the explorer who discovered the Book of Doom was named. Images of that explorer appear as she narrates. Bernard Hasso. Wait, isn't that the person we saw holding the book earlier? When he flipped the cover, the first page said this. His eyes widen with disbelief as he stares at it. It reads, loosely translated, March 17th, 1945, 11:35 a.m. A beautiful sunny day. Explorer Bernard Hasso has discovered the Book of Doom. The scene shifts to a residential street cordoned off with yellow tape. In Sumida Ward, Tokyo, a medium-scale spatial rift has appeared. Akon, like a powerhouse superhero, marches forward. The security guards scramble to block them. Hey, you guys, this is a restricted area, turn back. Hold on. Naturally, she's not the type to wait for anyone. They all charge in, ignoring the 2 guards, screaming, hey, stop! Minato watches, terrified. Is it really okay to do this? Hearing that, Hiko replies, does it look like it? Of course not. Akon stops. The Third World War, a full moon scene with a giant dead tree underneath. Honestly, it looks like a scene from my fairy tales about the man in the moon, the dark side of the moon, a plague attacking the giant tree. These were all serious crises, but they were all resolved by brilliant, superpowered people from around the world. The scene cuts to Midori fast asleep. Most recently, there was a monster riot that Midori handled. Scraps of paper are falling everywhere. It looks like an endless loop. In short, aside from the Book of Doom, many other prophecy books exist in this world. Her voice grows increasingly frustrated. And to collect, analyze, and resolve them all, the Great Prophecy Force was established and exists to this day. She pulls up a chart to explain further. In other words, it's like this. On arrow points from danger to super danger levels. World destruction is certain Book of Doom level 1. Global environmental change level 2. National or continental scale disaster level 3. Destruction of a region or multiple cities with some exceptions. Minato looks a bit blank. Oh, is that so? He startles. Wait, you mean we have to handle this ourselves? Akon turns sharply. As members of the Great Prophecy Force, that's a given. The guard sees them coming out and yells, Kisaragi people are coming. He turns around. 3 people walk out slowly. Civilians, he yells. It's dangerous here. Leave immediately. Akon steps forward. Today's prophecy is level 3. This specific one is predicted as Class B medium scale. She speaks with a grave expression. In the Golden Psalms anthology, a level 3 prophecy book says this, when the rift opens. Did she jinx it? The moment she spoke, it actually cracked. Everyone is panicked. What? Out of the rift wolves appear. They look ugly as demons. Disgusting, I tell you guys. Monsters above Class A are swarming out. Kisaragi gets into a fighting stance. He charges in, landing slick, powerful blows, sending them flying. The monsters press forward, clawing and biting. The regular people can't do a thing. They can only scream in despair. Help. Kisaragi is fighting the monsters one-handed, but he knows that with only Class B and C members, it's very hard to deal with this horde. More than anything, the aura coming from these monsters shows there's a boss behind them pulling the strings. Kisaragi tries to take them down, but when he turns and catches sight of Akon, Hiko, and Minato, he's taken aback. Kisaragi had assumed they were just normal people. Then Akon calmly raises her hand. Immediately, she chants a spell. Chit-me chit-toot. Right under her feet, a strange stream of water appears. After creating the water, Akon chants, Mercurius. Instantly, hundreds of sharp swords fly out of the water she just summoned. They look just like jagged spears. Like some thug's weapon, it looks incredibly cool. At that same moment, a lone wild wolf, unaware of fear, attacks a man who looks just like a walking quail egg. He screams loudly, ugh, right at that moment. The spears summoned by Akon lash out at the beasts, looking like a dog meat barbecue. As if receiving a signal, Hiko's shoes immediately glow with a golden light, magical and brilliant. I wish that were real gold. These very shoes help Hiko take down multiple monsters at once, dodging through the pack. And then, Hiko delivers a critical kick to a monster's head, leaving them flattened on the road. Kisaragi is shocked. He never expected these people he just tried to stop. To be able to take out the monsters he struggled to defeat in a single heartbeat. It's a matter of skill. Inside Kisaragi's head, he's stunned. Who are these guys? They're stronger than me, an S-class hunter. Akon demands Kisaragi move out of the way immediately. She follows up with a line that really hits Kisaragi's pride. To us, you are the civilian here, Akon says, leaving him frozen as if he realized something strange. Kisaragi took a closer look and suddenly he panicked at the sight of that symbol. You guys are with the government. What rank is that? Just then a set of incredibly slay nails emerged from a spatial rift. Along with that, a pair of blood-red eyes and razor-sharp teeth appeared. It seems the boss has finally stepped out from that gap. It radiated an eerie, dark aura. Then the sound of space cracking echoed as red lightning bolts intertwined with the boss's growls. Seriously, I need a rabies shot, thought Hiko, while both he and Akon stared at the monster with utter disdain. It looks so tacky, yet it's S rank. As the records say, it's a beastkin, specifically a Julio Renel S+ rank. Looking at its jewel-like horns, it was already a beast, and its name was a total tongue-twister. It was like seeing a piece of raw meat wiggling right in front of Hiko and Akon. They charged straight in to teach it a lesson. Kisaragi immediately shouted, Wait, don't attack recklessly. Kisaragi, have you even heard of proper planning? Not letting Kisaragi's warning reach their ears, Hiko and Akon lunged forward, landing hundreds of kicks and strikes, but Hiko suddenly realized that his iron-hard kicks and her missile-like blades didn't even leave a scratch on the beast. Turns out its armor had physical resistance. Sensing a target, it lunged toward Akon, who just clicked her tongue and conjured a ball of water that was absolutely sick. Oh no, Akon! Before she could even use her magic, Minato stepped in front of her. The seal on his hand glowed and Akon froze, letting out a surprised, "Oh!" Minato didn't seem to care much. That was badass, go Minato. The main character is going wild, blocking the monster's head with one hand. That's main character energy for you. Before the monster could even process it, he unleashed his power. 2 rings of energy appeared around his arm, and right after that, the ground shattered and the monster exploded into pieces. Holy cow, author. This is better than a Hollywood blockbuster. Flames roared, but our main character wasn't fazed. Akan was left speechless by Minato's power like someone caught in a total scandal. Then shards of the ground floated into the air. From the flames, Minato created a breathtakingly beautiful scene unfolded. Akan looked like a white moonlight goddess stepping out of a novel, absolutely stunning. Hiko stood there frozen, his brain completely short-circuited. What the hell is this real? Wait a minute. Destroying an S-rank monster in one hit. My bad feeling this morning. It wasn't just a hallucination. This is truly main character aura. He thought Minato has become unrecognizable after just one night. Akan then said, "Don't act on your own." Perhaps because she still couldn't accept that Minato could be this strong. Minato didn't mind. He thought, to deal with an enemy with physical resistance, you have to focus your energy and attack from within. The technique I learned from Changong last night. The most basic technique, Shockwave, is unexpectedly useful. Minato turned to Akan and said, "Hey, tell me your name. Inside there. We'll have to work together. It's inconvenient not knowing names." Akan replied hesitantly, "Akan. My name is Sinomiya Akan, a rookie." As she charged, sparks flew from his feet sizzle. The meat was seared, one strike pierced straight through the monster's icy heart. Physical enhancement, penetration, man, it's game over for you. A strange liquid began flowing out from the chests of the monsters. It was like their bodies were slowly melting away. First the guy, now the girl, they're on a roll. Akan unleashed her move, Mercury counter-attack. Hiko looked triumphant, just as Minato said. Akan agreed, looking happier than ever. Attacking from the inside is easy. Suddenly a voice from behind startled Minato. The rookie turned back to see Hiko and Akan already waiting at the spatial rift. "Let's go in." Kisaragi was having a mental breakdown because of these kids. Inside the rift was an entirely different space. No matter what anyone said, this was way too reckless. People say, the deaf don't fear the gun, and that fits this crazy bunch perfectly. Seeing an opportunity, Minato charged in. "Yeah, I'm coming." I was stunned. Who would have thought this kid had such guts? What the? Boom, one by one they jumped in looking more like Olympic divers than anything else. But Kisaragi was still in shock. He stood still as a statue before the row of monster carcasses, his mind a total mess. What is wrong with these kids? Contrary to his anxious state, the other 3 were laughing like they'd hit the jackpot. Could this be the secret organization I heard about? Running through that gate deep inside, they were greeted by a horde of monsters. One by one, they took them down, jumping in and pouncing. Nothing was too hard for her. Akan used her power to wipe them out. Inside was just like the outside, and then she grew annoyed and shouted, "So boring!" One by one, she pierced through their hearts. It would be a miracle if they survived that. Minato grinned. "Awesome, Akan." She nodded in agreement. His area of effect suppression is the best among everyone in our class. The challenge isn't that easy yet. A massive giant bear blocked her path. It was 20 times her size. While it was busy roaring and thrashing about, she looked exhausted. Hiko, like a god, leaped in and shouted, "Leave this to me." The big bear's movements are getting all clumsy and sluggish, but someone tiny like Hiko is like a little water flea. He zips away in a blink. One second he's there, the next he's jumped right up to the ceiling. It's clearly setting up for a solid hit to the face. What else could it be? Hiko's leg looks like it's sparking with energy. He lands a kick right on the beast's chin. Man, that was absolutely epic. Totally cool and badass. Minato watches in pure admiration. So impressive, Hiko starts bragging the moment he's complimented. Not wanting to leave his friend alone, Minato jumps up too, making Hiko freeze in shock. And naturally, he lands a hit on the beast, just like Hiko did. Man, I feel for that monster. Its jaw must be shattered. Minato turns around with a cheeky grin like, "Is this how you do it?" I'm telling you folks, if you tell him no, he's probably gonna kick it again just to be sure. The 3 of them keep running to explore the area. Akan thinks to herself the number of enemies has gone down. Just as she's about to say so then, they're all stunned by the sight before them. She wonders, why is this place so wide? Suddenly they all jump, looking up at something falling from above. It landed with a heavy thud, perfectly on target. A leg thick as a pillar slams into the ground. Minato is stunned. It's huge. It seems everyone is shocked by its arrival, and Hiko is no exception. This monster it's got 2 horns, probably cheated on by its ex, and a nose ring. No mistaking it. It's definitely a monster buffalo. It roars, spitting everywhere, but its eyes are covered with a black blindfold, and it has 2 tusks sticking up. It looks more like a cross between a pig and a buffalo. Boss Minato with his S+++ grade hawk eyes mutters. Akan isn't scared at all. She steps forward. So you finally show yourself. Are you the one managing this place? She raises her hand using magic to take it down. Triple holy punishment. A golden circle forms on the ground surrounding the beast. Is this some kind of restraining spell? 10 different blades shoot up from within that circle, one after another, stabbing straight into the beast. Golden Eldorado. But that's not enough. Akan keeps the attacks coming. Rule number 1, when facing a strong enemy, hit them with your absolute best move right from the start. Never hold back or drag it out. She seems to be losing patience. She screams at anyone daring to stand in her way. I'll keep going until my mana runs dry. Hiko looks even more excited than he was when he met Krat, happy to help finish it off. Ha ha ha! Akan's skill is so grand, I'm so jealous. Minato, standing behind them, is a huge fan too, one side with a giant ball of purple flames, the other with golden ones. That was a powerful attack, all right, but then he hesitates. Wait, that's not right. She says something that makes the 2 guys above her turn around, confused. She's been standing there frozen for 5 seconds. Akan can't hide her curiosity. Rookie, do you have a problem with my ultimate move? Suddenly the monster's hand reaches out, gripping an axe. It swings once and bam, you're dead, folks. Who could have expected that? Everyone is slack-jawed in shock. They're totally stunned because they used their strongest move and the thing didn't even flinch. It swings the axe into the ground like a demon and lets out a deafening roar. Scary stuff. It really is a monster. One swing and it shakes the earth. Fire is blazing everywhere. Not only is the floor caving in, but the ceiling isn't doing so hot either. Rocks keep raining down. Now the other 2 are in total shock. Whoa! Now the full form of the monster is revealed. Its body is covered in a dark brown color like it's been tanning for 300 years. Its face is indescribable, honestly. Its limbs and muscles are just freakishly huge, looking like that it's a miracle they're still standing. At this moment, Minato, Hiko, and Akan are all frozen in place. This thing. What has it been eating to stay alive this long? Just as things are heating up, an image of Kiwi appears in the air, an exceptional talent. Minato is frozen, absolutely stunned. Then Minato turns his head slightly, just managing to choke out Kiwi. And then, that kid. Her alchemy speed, her precision, and her attention to detail. It's hard to believe such a young girl could have skills that amazing. He continues. Her way of dealing with mysterious enemies is perfect. Normally, a boss at this level would have been wiped out easily. Kaiwai narrows his eyes and says, "What a shame." The girl didn't realize the monster's physical resistance. Looking at the beast, it seems even more powerful. According to Minato's intro, Hawkeye's 100% physical resistance. Yikes. After hearing Kaiwai's comments, Minato asks him, "Then how do we defeat it?" Kaiwai hears the question and instantly switches to CEO mode. He pushes his glasses up and answers with that classic arrogant boss smirk. The monster swings its axe again, accompanied by the sound of the pavement shattering. Kaiwai calmly says that is, Hiko and Akan finally realize that the thing specializes in physical resistance. We should have brought a magic user. Now Kaiwai explains how to kill the beast. It's triple holy punishment. After that, Minato's true power awakens. His hair and eyes turn a stunning, vibrant blue. Akan turns and nods. Minato starts summoning a stream of shimmering mercury. Minato, lend me your body for a second. Let me show that kid how it's done. In an instant, a stream of mercury rushes toward the cow beast. Akan cries out, "Wait, how are you using my skill? But hold on, what are you doing?" Attacking the monster physically. Minato just turned around with a blank expression, looking so stupid. Akan quickly steadied himself, and then the protagonist continued, saying that was the result of being too focused on his specialty. A true alchemist must know how to distinguish and utilize the 3 states of matter, depending on the situation. The cow, meanwhile, was still quite relaxed, that relaxed cow. After that, Minato started shouting, "Boil mercury." At that moment, the cow felt intense pain. It really was as stupid as a cow. The heat from the mercury flow made Hiko scream, "Too hot," and then, Akan thought, attacking with heat instead of physical force. And it's at such an extreme temperature to control heat so freely like that. At this point, Hiko spoke up. "You're good too, but this kid has a lot of potential. I want to take him on as my apprentice." Minato awkwardly replied, "That's a bit under the watchful eyes of everyone. The cow had been taken down in one hit by Minato. After that, both Hiko and Akan thought, the mission to prevent the Tier 3 prophecy recorded in the Golden Psalter anthology is complete. They looked at Minato so incredibly handsome. The mission to destroy the boss was completed by the hawk-eyed Minato. After witnessing Minato's badass display, Akan was having an existential crisis, looking at that corner. Akan looked so confused. That surprise made Akan ask many questions. A transcendentalist can only specialize in one system, right? Unlike the textbooks, I thought he was a physical transcendentalist like Hiko, but he's better at alchemy than me. Who on earth is he? Just as those questions echoed in her head, Minato extended his hand toward Akan. Right after that, he introduced himself. My name is Kam-ing Minato, remember it. Shinomiya Akan, what a terrifyingly handsome executive. Upon hearing this, Akan was furious, looking like a monkey eating ginger. Then she proactively shook his hand and said, Fine, I'll remember it, Minato. As she turned back to look at Minato, Akan thought, Minato, it seems you've been acknowledged by Akan. Just then, to the shock of Kisaragi and the squad, they felt the rift getting smaller. Look, the rift is shrinking. They stared intently at the opening, asking, What on earth is happening inside? From inside that rift, Minato and Hiko jumped out looking so incredibly cool. Then Minato reached out his hand to support Akan right after that. It was pure surprise from the members of Kisaragi's team. They had escaped the rift safely. Minato was so thoughtful, but Akan being Akan jumped from the rift down to the street herself. At this moment, Minato was completely frozen in embarrassment. To recover and save face, Minato asked, So the mission is complete then? Akan replied, That's right, we just need to report back to headquarters. She immediately continued, Though it wasn't easy, it was an interesting mission. Then Kisaragi walked over and coughed once. I thanked Minato, Hiko, and Akan. Please accept my gratitude. Thank you for saving me and my team. Kisaragi hesitated before asking, Who are you all? And what happened inside? Could you possibly tell us? Akan cut him off. So you're one of those in the industry, huh? Then she coldly said, And now just draw this symbol on your report. That's enough. Kisaragi replied, All right then. If there's anything dangerous, I'll ask for your help again. It seems not only her appearance is cold as ice, but her personality is the same. This time, Akan still replied with a haughty tone, Cases like this are rare, so you can rest easy. Ending the conversation, Akan added, We won't be meeting again. Go back to your daily lives. Kisaragi just laughed and replied, Ha ha, does she mean we're just ordinary people? On May 11th, in this village of Ka, the province was covered in a brilliant red. The people were extremely confused and terrified. At the Grand Prophet headquarters, Hiko, Minato, and Akan arrived. Akan yawned lazily. Now all that's left is writing the report. Just then Hiko was surprised by an incoming call. A call? Akan asked with fatigue. We just finished the mission, who's calling? In conference room 3, Akan walked in with a reserved tone. Excuse me. All three people stood frozen in their tracks. The person in the room was none other than Makoto. As soon as he entered, he shouted, Akan, a Tier 3 mission, why did it take so long? Does this guy think it's easy or something? Minato then remembered, he's a classmate of ours. Instead of taking it silently, Akan retorted immediately, Shinji, as if you're so good yourself. Thinking you're the captain or something. A leopard can't change its spots. Seeing the situation getting tense, Hiko spoke up. All right, stop it, you two. What's the matter that you called us here? Director Kurihara replied briefly. Look at this. The picture the decoding team sent over. Then Kurihara projected an image. Inside it was something red with a shape quite like charcoal. Akan immediately remarked, What is this charcoal? Kurihara immediately rejected that. It's a prophecy book, but it was burned. Because it was found in a volcanic area, decoding it was very difficult. Minato thought. A burned prophecy book, how can you read that? To answer Minato's question, he said, This time we used the latest technology like X-rays and AI to decode the content. There is a lot of information, but among it there is a prophecy related to Japan. At this moment, everyone in the meeting room froze. Akan added, And it's a completely new prophecy. Minato turned to ask Hiko if this case was rare. Hiko replied, I've never heard of it before. Kurihara added, The Grand Prophet is very famous in the research field. So we have collected many prophecies from around the world except for this case. You could say there aren't any new prophecies, Makoto continued. In other words, the four of us will be in charge of the investigation. At that moment, Minato suddenly recalled their earlier conversation. As for the driver, Midori Kurihara added, "That's why I didn't see you when I returned to headquarters. That is why I want the four of you, the ones who can mobilize immediately to handle this. You will be taking on the preliminary investigation. The mission details will be sent via email. Now depart immediately." Minato, taken aback, replied, "You want us to take on the next mission, right away?" Immediately. Akan didn't seem particularly surprised, saying, "It's standard procedure." Hiko chimed in, "Minato, you'll get used to it soon enough." But deep down, Minato was screaming. The fate of the world was at stake, so his reaction was understandable. Just then, Makoto slammed his hand on the table and said, "Understood, sir." He stood up and announced loudly that Suo, Shinji, and the other three had accepted the mission, though Akan still tried to argue back. "Who are the other three exactly? Since we just decrypted it and the danger level is still unclear, please be careful. If you see signs that a prophecy is about to manifest, wait for the main team to arrive." While sitting in the car, Minato couldn't help but think. A special mission with an undefined danger level. Even if it's just an investigation, this is pretty intense. Makoto, still in the car, said, "You three just finished a mission. Try to get some sleep while you can. It'll be a real pain if something happens when we arrive on site." Akan stretched her neck and argued, "Why do you keep giving orders? I'm fine without sleep." That was all the excuse Minato and Hiko needed to call it a night, leaving Akan completely flustered. Despite her claims that she wouldn't sleep, she drifted off not long after. What's more, she even leaned against Minato. Once they arrived, everyone left Akan to sleep in the car. When she finally woke up, she rushed outside, leaving no time for any more bickering. Everyone stood there, staring into a lake that was emitting a strange red glow. They were all stunned as it was a massive magic circle. "Are those red pillars of light the final images of the 23 people mentioned in the report?" Makoto could only manage to gasp. "It's just like the apartment fire in Wakayama Prefecture. That prophecy happened 35 years ago. It almost opened a gateway to another dimension." At this moment, Makoto orders everyone to fight. Minato flares up with a brilliant green aura illuminating the entire corner. He says, "Let's go, shall we?" Looking insanely cool, both Akan and Hiko are stunned by his power. "Stronger than this morning." Makoto observes, adding, "Looks like he won't be getting in our way. Follow me." Immediately, all four of them dive down. The scene is insanely cool. Deep beneath the tomb, Ituryu and Silentius feel a sense of familiarity. They smelled this scent so many times when they were alive. It's been a long time, hasn't it? "Yeah. I smelled this many times back when I was alive," Ituryu says, finishing with a dangerous look. "The scent of forbidden magic." The text says, "The prophecy, the superthermal book. After a long, endless cycle of thousands upon thousands of moonrises and moonsets, when the full moon turns blood red, melts away, and silently opens its eyes, darkness will blanket the sky with a pitch-black shroud. When the hollow flame shines, drag him down to hell." A blood-drenched scene appears, human skeletons hanging from trees, a head rolling on the ground. Someone is sitting there. The surroundings are soaked in fresh, disgusting blood. Bando Shijima, the transcendent leader of the witches, sits in the middle of this carnage as if admiring his own twisted artwork. "Holy cow, meeting a guy like this, I'd probably just reincarnate on the spot." After committing a horrific massacre during the Heian period, he was defeated by an onmyoji. I was a transcendent too. This bloody mess. It can't end here. He drifted to a certain village. It was death everywhere right from the start. Terrifying, a bloody footprint appears, and he's even vomiting blood. Just looking at it, you can practically smell the stench of rot. Then a whole field of corpses' bodies lying everywhere, corner to corner. Standing out among the pile is a guy wrapped in bandages holding a bucket. He's pouring more blood everywhere, looking like some lunatic imagining it's raw food he's drizzling with sauce. My time is running out, but holy crap, his massive face is revealed. His eyes are bloodshot like some junkie under a bridge shooting up. Bandages wrapped around his head like he escaped from an asylum, and blood is leaking from his mouth like he just ate a person. "Oh Lord, have mercy," he smirks. 1,000 years later. Then he breaks into hysterical laughter. "I will become the Demon King, devour all life, and rule this world." What a total lunatic. A magic seal appears. The forbidden spell. Bando Shijima left behind before he died. He died resurrecting in the present world by sacrificing the lives of all living things, existing within the painting I drew with my own hands. Suddenly, a figure appears on the moon. The mission this time: prevent the new prophecy recorded in the burned book of prophecy. The face gradually emerges. Wait, isn't that the boss Bondo Shijima? With flashy makeup and fancy hair, he's actually the big boss. Oh la la, what a surprise. He looks at his hands opening and closing them. You dare to resurrect with just this little bit of power. I need more sacrifices. Shijima lands and walks around. 1,000 years have passed. This place is truly desolate, but that's fine. Boom, he goes crazy, eyes rolling back, grinning from ear to ear. Thinking of Minato's crew, he gloats, looks like I've found some fresh tasty prey. With just a flick of his hand, he sends Minato's group flying 10 meters away. Flames consume everything around them. Minato clutches his arm and screams while Hiko and Akan try to reassure each other. Don't worry, he shouts in a panic to warn his two friends below. They look down immediately. Right at the edge of their feet, the light of some kind of dark magic appears. There's one more from that circle. A bunch of fingers like leeches latch onto Hiko and Akan, pulling them down. It's the Death's Noose skill. The two of them grit their teeth, trying to hold their ground. I can't move my body. He still has enough energy to use consecutive skills. Moonlight shines on that terrifying face. Now it looks a billion times scarier. He's too strong. This opponent is truly on another level. Startled, he glances to the left. One arm strikes out, none other than Minato. Handsome, save us, save us. He moves nimbly from corner to corner, forcing even the villain to offer praise. Oh, you've got talent, but you're still wet behind the ears. A careless move, he plants his foot directly into the magic circle. It doesn't take long. Within seconds, a 3-meter-high flame erupts, incinerating everything it touches. Oh, but life never goes that smoothly. He looks up. Minato is holding a golden orb of energy. It's crackling with lightning, looking super badass. His eyes are full of hope, as if he's preparing his ultimate attack. Ha! He lunges down at rocket speed, but the villain isn't an easy target. With a snap of his fingers, a shield appears above him. Minato is startled as the compliments rain down like a storm. He points directly at him just like a game show host. You're the one, kid, not bad this time. Seizing the chance, Shinji rushes forward and stabs straight at him with the marigold skill. It looks like victory is his, but nope. If a villain died that easily, where would the drama be? Shijima flips away. Ha ha ha, what a pity, such a pity. Not giving up, Shinji keeps his sword raised. I knew from the start. I didn't think you'd fall for that attack. The heavenly dance sword skill. Not a hint of fear appears on that face. Ha ha ha, it's like rain. Is your technique to turn light rays from your sword into clones? Though I don't really like swords. Shijima rushes forward like a reckless kid. He blocks the sword with one hand. Fantastic, you are the strongest one here. Holy Sa with just his bare hand. He blocked that lethal blade. That's insane. Minato stands in the corner, stunned. Just how strong is this guy? Remembering their time with Midori. This is completely different from any opponent they've faced before. Maybe he's on par with the progenitor. Or what should I do, Midori? Before he can continue, a voice shatters his train of thought. Minato, watch out. Aiken has used every ounce of his strength to escape the jaws of death. Oh, this is so freaking awesome, guys. It's such a satisfying sight. I'm still stuck in this non-stop cursing mood, rushing ahead of Minato, shouting, "What are you standing there blankly for?" Even Shimura, watching from afar, can't stand it anymore. "Get out of my way!" he yells, and that's it. It's game over. Behind him, 3 swirling portals appear, green, red, and blue. From within those portals, out crawl these hideous monsters, literally looking like bull-headed, horse-faced demons. Those are his summoned beasts, the sea-bone devils. As if he wasn't already pissed off, now he's got people blocking his path. The hot-headed duo attacks immediately, get lost. But then they have to stop in their tracks, completely stunned. Every one of those monsters is incredibly strong, forcing them to be cautious. Damn it, the power of each one is on par with Minato. Oh my god, look at that bull hybrid with horns like it was cheated on by its ex. Seriously, that thing is insanely strong. A green one seems to have taken a liking to Minato. It stands right in his way. He steps back to gather momentum, though honestly, who knows if he's prepping an attack or just running for his life. Minato grimaces, looking annoyed. Oh, he's definitely getting into a fighting stance. Shizuma is standing right there, his mouth making weird noises, his limbs flailing about. Damn, why is this guy acting so dramatic? He's all dolled up with makeup and his nails are flashy as hell, and he's acting like a total weirdo. Ha ha, how pathetic. No one's coming to help you. Geez, does he think he's all that? Shizuma looks so arrogant, clearly feeling like he doesn't need any help. He dashes through and lands a love hickey right on the guy's shoulder. Blood spraying like syrup everywhere. Ha! After the slash. He doesn't even smile or show excitement. He just gently sets his sword down, eyeing him. I don't need any help. He suddenly remembers the past, his hand freezing at the memory of the words, Shinji, don't come here. Fine, being a lone wolf is just fine, man. With a sword slung over his shoulder, he's more than enough on his own. Shinji can't keep his cool. He just wants to spit in his face. The only thing I can trust in this world is my own strength. Even now, Shizuma is still wearing that grin, acting like he's already won. Ha, well said. He bows as if preparing for a final performance, then looks up. With that garish makeup and the dim lighting, he looks like a plastic surgery disaster. Ugly on the outside and ugly on the inside. If you don't need anyone else, then I'll just swallow you all whole. His laughter echoes everywhere like a demon queen, and they dive back into the fight. This time, Shinji has to start worrying. His speed is increasing. As the battle intensifies, a piercing shout rings out. Shinji, who else could it be? It's Minato's voice. He's running in to help, his face showing no sign of fear, looking full of the youthful energy of a 20-year-old. Even Shizuma is surprised, turning his head to look. Why is he here? Seabone Devil Minato, come here. That means the monsters over there have been taken down. He glances over at the equally intense fight between Hiko and Akan. The green monster's upper body has been sliced away. Its spine has been destroyed. Taking advantage of his distraction, a fist slams straight into his cheek, distorting his face so badly it looks like his fat might burst out. With just that one punch from Minato, Shizuma goes flying. Oh my god, finally justice has been served. Completely moved. Shinji turns, shocked. He probably didn't expect someone that strong, right? Like a cold-hearted hot boy. Minato muses, if you fight alone, when will this ever end? Oh my god, what is this? Shizuma is sticking his tongue out. Ew, what a horrific sight. Does he think he's in the Korean drama or something? Ugh, give me a break. Minato clenches his fist. Let's join forces and take him down. Shizuma is sent flying, leaving long skid marks on the ground. Minato remains firm. I can't let you fight alone. Shinji looks over with a confused expression. Geez, we know your heart is melting too. You can't fool me. Looking to the side, it's a tear-jerking sight. Hiko and Akan are still pulling off moves to try and take down the beast. Akan isn't doing too bad either. But they can't quickly eliminate those monsters and get over here. He turns to look at the guy standing in front of him, feeling a bit existential. How is it that such a small guy can push his way to the front like that? He actually looks pretty cute, haha. And Minato is pretty bold too. Let's join forces and take him down. But for someone dubbed the strongest, does he really accept help? Join forces not necessary. Saying that, he lunges forward, gripping his sword tight, ready to skewer him again. Man, he's left stunned and speechless. What, you asked for help, and now you're refusing? How petty. Shinji's face is ice cold, his red hair and sharp eyes only adding to his mysterious beauty. I don't need anyone's help in this fight. Damn it, I just happen to love red-haired guys, but he's so cold, my heart can't take it. He shouts, I'll handle him myself. Oh, that's so reckless, don't do it. Minato's face turns panicked. Wait, Shizuma isn't about to wait. A pervert like him can't let such juicy prey slip away. This is perfect. A magical orb appears in his hand, his face full of satisfaction. I want to play with each of you one by one. Boom, his power surges. Wait, hello guys, his hand just got chopped off. What the F, that's brutal. Damn it, looks like a rocket booster power is shooting out. It's the Calamity Lightning skill. One pulse from the main body and another one still radiating from his severed hand. Guys, this guy is seriously creepy. His severed hand just flew straight up into the air and now it's like smoking up there. Shizuma's face looks so sinister as he launches himself forward. Ha ha ha! Once again, Shinji's sword is blocked by his hand, and suddenly the other side of the tree gets sliced off, hits the ground and starts smoking. Under that tree, isn't that Minato? He's slumped against it, looking completely out of it, staring blankly ahead. But as he looks up, the scenery shifts, he can't help but be shocked. What is this? Why am I? Oh, Ituryu and Silentiasma. They look at him with a hint of pity. Perfect timing on fainting, we were just about to call for you. Minato tries to speak, his voice laced with pain. Vechiro, malicious. But the wound on his arm makes him hesitate. It's as if that sharp pain is what's actually forcing him to remember and to refuse. Right, this isn't the time to. Before he can even finish, Ituryu cuts him off. In the heavy, silent space, his voice sounds even weightier. Just step back now, following his order. Minato's eyes widen as he hesitates. then turns his gaze back to the intense battle between those three fierce fighters. Shizuma's hand is still pinning Shinji's sword. He's relentlessly unleashing lightning-fast strikes like throwing daggers. Do you think the same as I do? So damn frustrating. Shinji winces, unable to accept the reality. Damn it, my skills can't cut him. His hand is still just there. His face goes cold, turning even more wicked. That's right. I don't need anyone else. I'm serious. This guy's face looks like a literal demon creepy. His mouth is always smeared in red, absolutely gross. He glares. So I'll just swallow everyone up myself. He lunges forward. He deals Shinji a fatal blow to the arm, and Shinji can't even react in time. A drop of blood drifts past his eyes, and his sword begins to slip from his grip. Shinji looks like he's drained dry. He's putting every last ounce of his strength into this life-or-death struggle. But conversely, the enemy isn't losing any power. It's like he's getting stronger by the second. He laughs like a maniac. Good, keep entertaining me. Sweat is pouring down Shinji's face like rain. He has truly given 200% of his strength. From a distance, Minato and the other two are watching. Ituryu's voice drops low as he looks at the boy. Look at that. Even though that Shinji guy is stronger than Hiko and Akan, he's still leagues behind a true wizard. And honestly, that is exactly the truth. It's clear to everyone that Shinji is about to collapse. Minato is startled when he hears that a comment that feels like rubbing salt in the wound. With your current power, there's no way you can beat him. And Silentia standing beside him adds even more fuel to the fire. He's using a high-level forbidden resurrection spell. If this were a populated city, his face looks just like a devil emerging. He's already become a demon king. Her words make him hesitate and falter. If he devours your lives, he'll become even stronger and humanity will suffer a devastating blow. An unidentified entity glowing red like burning charcoal. A prophecy level? Undetermined. Dealing with this is an emergency. The two standing behind him keep trying to persuade Minato. Ituryu explains slowly. So this time we'll switch fighters. Just hand your body over to one of us. Without even a second thought, Minato adamantly refuses. That answer shocked everyone. Ituryu and Silentias are just left with their jaws on the floor. But perhaps his resolve is impossible to shake. I'm sorry, but this isn't a training exercise. This is the real deal. He remembers meeting Gozu, who was casually stuffing fried meat into his mouth. I'm a level 5 hunter and I'm here to pick you up. Then he lunged like some kind of pervert. If you don't know fear, then what about pain? Thinking back to him, Minato seems even more fired up. In the future, the hardships and challenges won't get any easier just because my skills are weak. His face lights up with a smile beaming like the sun. Right, Silentius, Minato says, though she looks worried. But this is, as he speaks, the guy next to him chimes in with a laugh, so annoying, seriously so rude. Ha ha! I've been spectacularly defeated. She can only glare at Rochoro while Ituryu laughs, clearly satisfied. That's right, Minato. You're the one who will surpass us. Just like the version of him that gained power, he says the same. I will surpass you all. He places a hand on his shoulder. Try me. Under the full moon, the silhouettes of Ituryu and Minato look like they were carved from stone. He seems incredibly proud of him. Use everything you have learned. Give it your all. Oh, they're both so incredibly handsome, like straight out of a magazine. Minato walks away with newfound courage. I will. After a few steps, he suddenly turns back and looks at the two of them with a smile that brightens the whole space. Keep watching over me, everyone. With that, he runs straight ahead. He reaches his friends, leaving the other two behind, unsure whether to be happy or sad. Back to the familiar scene with Shizuma. Wait. Why are these two still fighting after all this time? How are they so tough? He still has the upper hand. Oh, well, looks like you've run out of tricks. So then, Shizuma drives a blow into him. Oh man, that handsome face is covered in blood and crisscrossed with wounds. Oh honey, don't. With one swing of his arm, Shinji is sent flying into the sky. Shizuma gathers his magic with both hands, a glowing red orb of power growing in his grasp. Let's finish this. When Shinji was knocked back, he lost his sword too. Now, with no weapon and no shield, he feels desperate. Damn it! The sword spins through the air. He thinks to himself, is this the end? Is it really over? Oh no, baby, the sword spins and lands solidly in someone's hand. It looks familiar. Shinji's eyes widen in shock. It's Minato. He leaps up and grabs Shinji. Let me borrow the sword for a second, Shinji says, his eyes wide with surprise. Then they narrow in confusion. Borrow it. He does a backflip and lands gracefully. Shizuma is still gathering power for his final attack, that same old familiar technique, the lightning of calamity. A magic bolt streaks toward Minato, but he stands his ground unfazed, dancing through the lethal sparks. With a flick of his blade, a jet of water erupts. Raging wave slash fire and water collide, neither side willing to budge. Let's see who ends up on top. And just as we expected, Minato completely dominates. Look at that, the guy's arm is severed again, flying off. Seriously, how many times is that arm going to flop off, you old geezer? Shizuma's face turns pale. No way. Am I actually losing to a brat like this? He screams, what is this technique? Who are you? God, he's so handsome I can't take it, my love. Minato flashes a bright smile. Kaminagi Minato, the one who will surpass the progenitor. So damn cool, I'm dying here. Minato raises his sword with a look of absolute confidence. Kaminagi Minato, the one who will surpass the progenitor. Itorio, a bit uneasy, turns to Calentias. What do you think? Calentias doesn't seem worried at all. You're wondering if Minato can take down that sorcerer? She maintains her icy composure. Well, all we can do is watch. In truth, Itorio isn't really that worried either. He believes Minato isn't some fool. Maybe he realized something while sleeping and training on the carriage, or maybe he's got a trick up his sleeve. Minato launches his attack. Shinji, wounded, can only watch from the sidelines. The rookie is landing blow after blow, leaving Bando Shizuma completely stunned. Who the hell is this kid? Suddenly a memory flashes in Shinji's mind, Minato's words from back then. The boy had offered to team up, let's combine our strength and take him down. But he seemed unwilling to cooperate. I don't need anyone's help for this fight. That stubbornness cost Shinji dearly. Now he can only stand by, teeth gritted, watching the battle rage on. Shizuma decides to launch a counter-move to block Minato's path. It's a forbidden lightning bullet magic. It puts Minato in a tight spot as he realizes the trap. You think you're just going to keep chasing me until you land a hit? He prepares his counterattack. The stance he adopts catches Guntak's interest. Nice. That stance is exactly what I taught him. He stomps his foot and unleashes a foot crush strike. Instantly, a massive stone wall erupts from the ground to shield him. This scene leaves Bando, Shizuma fuming. That brat, he's controlling the very earth. But a second later, two more surprises unfold. First, the space-tearing explosions caused by the foot crush. Second, Shizuma's attack was completely negated. Shizuma is absolutely shaken. But seeing Minato standing there without a single scratch after that barrage shocks him even more. Suddenly, memories of Minato and Allison playing together flash through his mind. He lunges forward using a light reflecting footwork technique. The approach is a success. However, when he swings his sword, Shizuma barely manages to dodge. But that strike made him wary. Who is this guy? Perhaps he believed it was impossible for the kid to get that close. No way! Shizuma uses a seal to blast him away. A boom tears through the air. Just like Minato, his tactic worked, but in the next split second, the boy regains his focus. Don't forget the fundamentals. Use everything I've learned. He attacks again, and this time he hits his mark. He manages to wound his opponent, though it's minor. Shizuma doesn't seem to care about the injury. His mind is occupied with other calculations. That's right. Swordsmanship spells magic footwork. Each technique is perfect on its own, but none were enough to threaten me. But this kid, just how many techniques do you know? The scene leaves Itorio and Calentias speechless. Itorio's jaw is literally on the floor while the other doesn't speak a word. But her thoughts are loud. If he were a monster, it'd be one thing, but to overpower a sorcerer with such intellect, I never expected him to improve this fast. Meanwhile, Bando Shizuma is getting a rush out of what's happening. Interesting. Suddenly, he glances sideways. Forbidden art. The words send everyone into a panic. Something massive begins to emerge. Akan is the most terrified. That thing is... What horrifies her is the sight before them after Shizuma releases the forbidden art. A skeletal frame with 3 heads appears, the raging demon hand. He stands atop the skull and sends Minato a provocative smirk. Thanks for the fun match. He glances downward. But it's not enough. Shizuma raises that giant skeletal hand, aiming straight at Minato. This ends now. Those nearby see the impending doom and shout, Minato, it's dangerous, run. But he stands there dazed. Not enough, you say? You're right. Even with all my strength, I'm still miles behind. He pushes his thoughts further higher past his limits. Right then he remembers Calentias's guidance. My lesson is magic. Take it one step at a time. This is the most basic spell. Jera J-a Jera J-a. Then he remembers Itorio Hinoki's teachings. Itorio, there are two types of swords, the soft sword and the hard sword. He grips the raging wave. Slash is a hard sword technique cutting the opponent in a single stroke. He shows Minato the proper grip. He also makes sure to warn him, the moment you swing down, don't hesitate, don't be afraid, just... His eyes suddenly turn chillingly sharp, glowing blood red, seeing right into the opponent's life force. At that moment, Minato's gaze becomes more determined than ever. His sword ignites with flames fueled by his sheer will. Realizing he's about to attack Silentia's and Itorio scream, "No way, Minato!" But he tunes them out entirely. Get ready, Bando Shizuma. He uses a technique of his own creation, later known as the Ever Desolation Slash. This direct attack leaves his opponent caught off guard and hit by the attack. Minato remains incredibly calm despite Shizuma's shock. Minato focuses his mind, staring intently at his opponent's life force. He does this because Itorio once reminded him that perception varies from person to person. To him it looks like a fragile thread, and I will sever that taut thread in a single strike. He smiles. Now what do you see? The massive bony hand descends, waiting for the chance to crush Minato, but Minato doesn't flinch. His gaze sharpens, brimming with resolve. He sees Bando Shizuma's life force, a murky, ugly, gloomy flame. I will cut it down with this piercing strike. No, even stronger, I'll incinerate it with a massive blaze. He swings his sword directly at his foe. The phantom piercing strike connects and the monster howls in agony. Bando Shizuma, his body split in two, is left in utter disbelief by the situation. Unbelievable. Itorio and Silentia's stare with wide eyes. How is that even possible? Combining his magic with Zekiro's swordsmanship. A new voice suddenly booms through the raging flames. Minato created. The sound grows louder and louder. Clearly showing his excitement, the speaker says, "Interesting, truly fascinating." Both Silentia's and Itorio are startled. It's Kilik. He must have been standing there for a long time, watching everything unfold. Minato's special trait. Kilik recalls seeing Minato in action before his ability to switch between skill sets fluidly. But Kilik is even more thrilled. I thought as much. But if he can use two skills at the same time, or perhaps even more... Without saying another word to the two of them, he leaves. Itorio probably looks at him with a judgmental gaze. What a weird guy. But unlike Itorio, Silentius thinks deeply about Kilik's words. If what Kilik the alchemist says is true, then we have drastically underestimated Minato's potential. These words make her wonder if they are even qualified to teach Minato. Completely unlike her. Itorio feels incredibly intrigued by Minato's ability. Of course, aren't you curious to see it? He turns his gaze back to Minato. You're still completely unfazed after all that. Where exactly does his limit lie? After unleashing that ultimate move, Minato must be exhausted. He is panting heavily. Huff, huff, huff. Even though Shizuma was hit, he recovers quickly. His blood begins to reform into body parts. He restores himself to his original state, but the incident has enraged him. That was close. If it had hit my head, I would have died. Though slightly taken aback, he spreads his hands, preparing to strike again. This ends now, but in his carelessness, he is attacked by Shinji's wild camellia. Though Shinji managed to sever his head, it wasn't enough. Teach, you're still alive. But Shinji doesn't care about that scornful remark because he has to save Minato. Shizuma is stunned by Shinji's actions. Shinji holds the unconscious Minato in his arms. This scene reminds him of the past when he was holding a certain woman, trying to lull her to sleep amidst the bitter winter cold. She speaks in a very weak voice. Ah, it's so cold, Haru. That must have been his old name. He tries to comfort the woman, but his own voice is just as weak. Hang in there until morning, okay? But Haru forces a smile which brings her some peace. I'll bring back some food. The woman, hearing that she doesn't feel any better, her listless, lifeless gaze remains, yet she still tries to call his name, Haru. This image makes Haru's expression darken. Suddenly, a rattling carriage passes by the two of them. He takes the straw he was using to cover the woman, to keep himself warm. Ah, it's so cold. Just then, a luxurious carriage passes by. The scene fills him with rage. Why are we the only ones suffering like this? Returning to the present, he smiles. Ah, being alone is comfortable, but it's also lonely. And he slowly fades into nothingness. Shinji hears those words and he believes, you are not alone. He grinds his teeth. Ah! Even though he is alone buried in his own thoughts, a sound of cracking from above startles him. This makes him deeply worried. But this is... Hikotaru and Akan come running up breathless. Shinji Akan anxiously asks about Minato. Are you okay? Is he still alive? Shinji reassures the two newcomers he's fine. Hearing that, Akan lets out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. But Hikotaru isn't as relieved because he knows that while everyone is safe, they can't celebrate yet. He looks up and realizes the cracks above are spreading further. He screams, "The barrier!" It looks like it's about to collapse from the inside. This barrier is large enough to cover the whole village. If the energy maintaining this massive barrier explodes from the inside, then, Shinji continues for Hikotaru, it will be fatal. The only way is to unleash our strongest skill at the moment the barrier collapses to dissipate the energy. That's easy to say, but, to be honest, you're not even sure if we'll succeed. But with our current strength, even at our absolute peak, can we really pull this off? We have no choice but to try. A few steps away from Shinji, Minato, now in a state of sudden overwhelming power, swung his sword. These actions caught Shinji's full attention. Rookie. And though Minato was in a trance-like state, he could still hear the voice speaking to him. You fought well, Minato. Memories of the past flickered through his mind. Back then he was full of life, his eyes burning with determination. Follow my lead, everyone. Itorio, witnessing this, raised his own sword with a proud smile. I've seen enough. Immediately after, a massive surge of energy erupted from Minato, accompanied by sounds that felt like they were tearing the very sky apart. A blinding light exploded into existence. Suddenly, someone's voice echoed, Hinoki Itorio Van. Elsewhere, not far off, 3 people were rushing toward the source of the light. Captain, that's a barrier. Finally, the 3 of them arrived. 2 of them feared they were already too late based on what was unfolding before them. Damn it! Are we too late? But the one called Captain didn't think so at all. He calmly raised his sword and a blinding blue light shimmered from it. The captain of the Suo unit, part of the Great Oracle Force, also known as Suo Makoto, had been watching the whole story unfold from the beginning. That blue light, it had likely caught his attention. Such a beautiful, clear, and pure radiance. He couldn't help but wonder who had created it. Who is that? Just then, Minato appeared in a different state, eyes closed, wearing a bright smile as he held his sword high. Meanwhile, in Peru, Midori was taking a call on an airplane. I heard those kids defeated an unclassified level prophecy. Wow, that's amazing. The person on the other end was Makoto, currently in Japan. Even though it was eventually classified as level 2, he said, glancing at the monster. Its potential is on par with a level 1. Midori, sitting on the roof of the plane, just smiled brightly. Perhaps he too had realized something positive about their abilities, which was why he was smiling so widely. Long time no see. Looks like you guys have improved. Midori was in a good mood, but Makoto suddenly cut him off. Of those, the one who contributed the most to the victory, Makoto continued, is Kaminagi Minato, who only joined 2 days ago. I heard you were the one who brought him here. What kind of person is he? Hearing that question, Midori just gave a smirk. The one who will put an end to all prophecies. His expression at that moment seemed to suggest he was looking forward to something big. The existence we've all been waiting for, perhaps that is Minato. Makoto seemed surprised by that statement. You have that much faith in him, Midori replied nonchalantly. If you're curious, go see for yourself. Makoto kept his icy expression. For now let's head back. There are no opponents to fight. It's so boring, the person on the other end complained. Hearing that, Midori could only give a dry laugh. Ha, sorry. Just as he was having fun, a voice rang out from somewhere. Midori Jin gave a warning as he appeared right in front of them. Suddenly, a giant silhouette loomed over the plane, an ultra-level prophecy, when the sun is obscured. Slowly, the features of that face became clear. It was the boss, the suicidal pathogen X. The monster finally opened its eyes, and a blinding light surged forth. A massive explosion followed, but Midori didn't seem to care much about that. Wait for me a moment, Makoto. I'll deal with this quickly. With that, he unleashed his mental disturbance, and at the same time, Minato woke up in the hospital. The nurse was the first person he saw. Oh, you're finally awake, Kaminagi Minato. Minato, still half-conscious, dazedly asked, Where am I? The nurse immediately informed him of his location. The Great Oracle's infirmary. She helped him realize he had been unconscious since returning from his mission. You don't even know you passed out, do you? He seemed to have some lingering regret for not achieving what he wanted, not even being able to reach the ancestor's dimension. The nurse pulled him out of those thoughts. Anyway, I'm just glad you're okay. If you need anything, just call me. She spoke while pulling back the curtain, and to her surprise, Shinji was also in the room. Minato let out a gasp. Shinji. Shinji's physical condition wasn't great. He was wrapped in bandages from head to toe and even needed crutches to walk. Yet he still stood there with his arms crossed. His expression was incredibly stern, though he didn't say a word. But Minato realized that Shinji had been there the whole time. Have you been here with me the whole time? However, since he only saw one person, he couldn't help but wonder, where are Hiko and Akan? Shinji informed him that they had gone off to train as soon as they returned. Shinji remarked that they seemed furious about not being able to show their worth in the recent mission. Perhaps this outcome had been beyond the expectations of both Shinji and Minato. Could it really have been that bad? Shinji showered Minato with high praise, saying his performance was truly astonishing, but then he suddenly stood up and started questioning him. Who on earth are you? Honestly, given what Minato had displayed, it wasn't hard to understand why he would ask that. To join for less than 2 days and defeat 2 bosses in a row, 1 grade 3 and 1 potential grade 1 while mastering countless skills and even a combination skill. I have never seen or heard of anyone like that. Bombarded by a dozen questions like that, Minato was caught off guard, unable to do anything but stutter out the other's name. Shinji. The other didn't show any signs of stopping. Who are you exactly? How? Maybe he was just jealous of his talent. I could be just like you. Suddenly their conversation was interrupted by someone else. Sorry. They were both surprised by the third person. It was Makoto. He didn't seem to care at all about the expressions on the other two. That guy over there, is it Kaminagi Minato? Minato stammered in response. Ah, yes. Confusion was written all over his face because he had no idea who was asking him. Who is this? Shinji called out to him, brother. But he didn't bother to pay any attention to that call. He just brushed past his younger brother, and Minato, having not yet recovered from the previous mystery, was dragged into another. Suddenly, Makoto swung his sword at Minato. This abrupt action caught Shinji completely off guard, leaving him unable to react. However, unlike him, Minato reacted just in time to dodge the blow. He glared, "May I ask what kind of test this is?" The attacker confirmed it was exactly that. That's right. But he seemed quite surprised, too, by the attack just now. A regular student shouldn't have been able to dodge that. He glanced at Minato. You passed. Minato, meanwhile, widened his eyes in surprise, unable to understand what the other meant. Passed again. Only then did Makoto introduce himself. Great Prophecy Force SWU Squad. I am SWU Makoto, the captain. At this point, Minato finally understood why Shinji called him brother. SWO. So that's why he calls him brother. Makoto continued. Kaminagi Minato, considering your achievement in defeating that potential grade 1 boss, I've decided to recruit you into the SWU Squad temporarily. This shocked both Minato and Shinji. Especially Shinji, his brother. The captain of the SWU Squad had come all this way just to recruit him. Even I have never been allowed to join him. The older brother didn't care at all about his younger brother's feelings, just brushed past Shinji like a gust of wind and called out to Minato. In that case, let's start our short meeting. Follow me. Minato, though caught in an incredibly awkward situation, had no choice but to follow Makoto. Ah, yes. Shinji was so angry that he clenched his fists, even causing them to bleed. He could only grind his teeth in rage. At the training room, both Hiko and Akan were training very hard, but they could only helplessly cry out, damn it. They realized one thing, it's no use, no matter how hard they train. That fact, as harsh as it was, they had to accept there was no way they could catch up to him. Suddenly, someone opened the door to the training room. Hello, hello. The person smiled. It's so hot. Midori appeared looking even more radiant than a flower. I'm back. I brought you kids some Peruvian fruit chocolate and these alpaca fur rugs. But the other two didn't care much for those gifts. Hiko and Akan rushed over to Midori. How long are you staying in Japan this time, brother? Hearing that, he just hesitated before answering. About a week. Akan begged for his help. Please help us become stronger, big brother, because we don't want to lose to Kaminagi Minato. Those words from Akan left Midori both surprised and amused. These kids actually had such a look of longing in their eyes. Minato had lit a fire in the hearts of these children. Midori agreed to help, that's a good idea. Then suddenly, he mentioned someone who wasn't supposed to be in this story. Shinji, what about you? Shinji stood at the door, pulling off his bandages, his eyes burning with determination. Please help me too. Meanwhile, Minato was following Makoto somewhere. Shinji's hand gripped the medical tape tightly. Please help us. I also can't let Kaminagi Minato leave me in the dust. Surely Hiko and Akan must have been surprised by his appearance. Shinji. But Shinji didn't pay any attention to that at all. Kaminagi Minato has been recruited into my brother's squad, Swell Makoto, and has become a temporary member. This new information left both Akan and Hiko stunned. Has he really come this far? Only Midori isn't surprised by any of this. If you're curious about what he said to Makoto on the plane, go see for yourself. He struck a thoughtful pose, and yeah, Shinji probably felt hurt by what happened. Was it all because I got left behind by him? Back to Minato, he was still following Makoto, asking, what is this meeting about? He just replied nonchalantly, about the mission, obviously. We head out tomorrow morning. Suddenly, he stopped walking. Kaminagi Minato, he said, his question for Makoto coming out of nowhere. Are you close with Shinji? That got Minato reflecting on the journey he and Shinji had shared. Even though they'd only met 2 days ago, they had already defeated Bando together. And Shizuma and they became close, something like that. I even lent me his sword and stayed by my side until I woke up. Even though I still had my doubts, he replied with a loud yes. Makoto pondered for a moment. I see. Shinji is sad because he thinks he was abandoned. My brother never cares about me at all. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. Makoto is always worried about his younger brother. I'm so worried about Shinji, but alas, Shinji isn't a mind reader. He has no idea what Makoto is thinking right now. Just now. He only looked at me for a second like a total stranger. The truth is that's not the case at all. Just now. His injuries made me unable to look him straight in the eye. But Shinji screamed in frustration, the only way to get him to acknowledge me is to become stronger. But that's not what Makoto wants. There's no need to be stronger. As long as he's safe and sound, that's enough. Minato was moved by this display of brotherhood. You two are so close, Makoto replied as if it were obvious, of course. On the other side, Shinji was fired up. I will surpass Minato and make him acknowledge me. Makoto expressed his feelings for his brother. With an ice-cold face, he said, I love my younger brother very much. Meanwhile, at the train hall, Shinji was nurturing his dream, one day I will definitely defeat you. Minato, of course, had no idea about what Shinji had just said, so he genuinely believed, what a harmonious pair of brothers. Back at the training hall, Akan and Hiko were discussing what Shinji said earlier. Akan truly had no idea why Shinji wanted to become stronger until just now. Shinji never talks about himself, so I had no clue he wanted to get stronger because he loves his brother. When asked why she thought that, she replied, well, Akan sighed, looking at his defiant attitude toward his brother. It's not strange to think that way. When I asked him, do you hate your brother? That question from Akan made Shinji blow his top, answering, who said I hate him? I respect him a lot. Akan recounted Shinji's reaction to Hiko. He actually yelled that. Then she threw a punch. He definitely just wants attention. Hiko smiled, but the smile seemed a bit sarcastic. I see. How heartwarming. Of course, Shinji had heard the entire conversation, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he just angrily threw punches at thin air. This attitude made Hiko retract her earlier comment, heartwarming, huh? As for Minato, he was currently being briefed on the SWU squad. First, the principles. The SWU squad has 3 ironclad rules. First, speed is everything. Second, never stop attacking. Third, overcome adversity. After that came the basic info about the squad. The SWU squad is the strongest official combat unit in the Great Prophet, at least in terms of direct combat. They follow an elite philosophy. There are only 7 members. He continued the introduction saying they only handle level 1 prophecies or higher, and the introduction was capped off with, that's what people usually say. The person introducing the SWU squad to Minato was named Koriyama Takaru. He told Minato a truth that few people know, but the reality is, 90% of the squad's power comes from Captain Makoto. We're just the backup. Maybe because he saw Minato was a rookie, he tried to reassure him with that. Don't feel pressured about being a temporary member. Just leave everything to Captain Makoto. Right then he realized that Minato had only caught half of what he was saying because essentially he had been busy texting on his phone the whole time. Put the phone away and focus. At that barked command, Minato shrunk back quickly, stammering, yes, sir, I just had to get in touch with my friends. Takeru responded with a side eye. Seeing his expression soften, Minato breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, they just keep nagging me for not checking in. The blonde guy, however, looked completely baffled by that explanation. Meanwhile, Minato's messages had reached Hiko and Akan. Hiko excitedly unlocked his phone to read them. Oh, it's from Minato. Akan, on the other hand, wasn't nearly as thrilled. He sent me one too, let's see. What Minato sent left Akan wide-eyed and stunned. What on earth is this? Who is this from? Hikotaro just covered his mouth with his hand. Minato, this is... But the most shocked of all was Shinji. His face darkened. What is this guy trying to do? Midori, witnessing the trio's reaction, couldn't contain his own nosy nature. What's wrong? What's going on? Hikotaro held out his phone. Minato sent this. It was a guide on how to become stronger. Midori found the title intriguing and swiped to see what the content was about. Not bad, actually. After reading all 3 messages, his eyes widened in surprise. Whoa, he wrote these in such detail tailored perfectly to each of their elements and personalities. Plus, these tips are at a level even higher than what I've been teaching them. Midori looked toward the other 3. That's incredible, guys. He held out his hand with a sinister grin. So what are we going to do? Should we talk to him? The 3 felt insulted and shouted, talk to him. Of course we're going to talk to him. Shinji was the one who lost his cool the most. We'll make him regret ever helping the enemy. Midori, the calmest of the bunch, interjected. Enemy what enemy? He's our classmate. The warning from the 3 was sent to Minato via telepathy. Get ready, Kaminagi Minato. Minato seemed to sense something and let out a sneeze. Takeru didn't care about his condition at all. Minato, we're finally here. Minato wiped his glasses and looked out of the helicopter. Ahead of him lay a frozen wasteland covered in ice and jagged thorns. This was the prophecy. A Tier 1 ice age. Basically a disaster that freezes the ground and keeps spreading. They estimated the freezing range would expand exponentially, and if not stopped, the image of the Earth turning into a cold, icy sphere was all Minato could imagine. The Earth would be completely frozen over. Suddenly, a young man with blue hair appeared. It was the vice-captain of Team Suo Kasimana. He warned, Japan is lucky that this started in the mountains, but the freezing speed is faster than expected. We can't afford to hesitate any longer. Another voice boomed out. It was the captain of Team Suo. The helicopter can only take us this far. He looked out the window. We're going to skydive directly into the site from the back. The rear door swung open and Makoto stood tall and imposing in the middle. We absolutely cannot let this disaster reach the civilian areas. With a stern face, he ordered, recite the 3 principles of Team Suo. The whole squad shouted in unison. First, speed above all. Second, never give up. Third, overcome adversity. Minato stood below, reflecting on his past battles. In the fight against Bando Shizuma, I ultimately had to rely on Zakiro's help. This temporary assignment is a perfect opportunity to learn directly from the official members. This time, I will definitely complete the mission with my own strength. He jumped from the helicopter after the others. The first Tier 1 prophecy. Such a noble mission. I'm going to face some brutal setbacks, aren't I? 10:17 a.m. Team Suo arrived at the prophecy site. Minato looked at his friend Takeru, who was sneezing behind him. Takeru was shivering and whining, It's so cold. Aren't superiors supposed to be resistant to temperatures? Mana pulled up her sleeve to check the device on her arm. 37 degrees, lower than the initial reports. Ahead lay jagged white snowy mountains. Pointy ice spikes pierced the sky. Makoto looked at the environment and gave an order. The search area is too vast. We'll likely have to camp here overnight. Minato asked curiously, Hey Takeru, this prophecy? I mean, is this eternal ice age also recorded in the Book of Prophecies? I explained, no. This is a prophecy from a superior with grand prophecy skills. Sometimes we get these kinds of readings. But this is the first time one has been classified as Tier 1. Takeru added, which is why, after reviewing the details, they decided to send Team Suo here. Minato nodded, clearing his throat to sound like he understood. Seeing that Mana asked with concern, Are you nervous? Minato looked at her and said, It's better to be careful, but don't be too stiff. Takeru grabbed Minato's shoulders, encouraging him. That's right. Just relax. The Japan branch of the Grand Prophecy has 8 official teams, and among them, our Team Suo is the one that has defeated the most Tier 1 prophecies. Seeing Takeru had misunderstood him, Mana snapped, Takeru, I meant don't be too relaxed. But suddenly, Takeru raised his hand toward the sky. Sorry for interrupting, Captain. Minato noticed the fingertips on his shoulder were emitting a brilliant golden light. My radar just picked up an enemy. Minato's eyes widened in amazement as it looked truly magical. Takeru looked at Mana seriously. 2 o'clock. The 200-meter distance was nothing. They understood each other perfectly. Mana nodded, signaling she got it. In a heartbeat, he was gone. Minato stood there stunned by how suddenly he had vanished. A second later, he was shocked to see Mana appear right behind him. The captain Makoto was beside her, reporting the location Takaru had scouted and sharing the intelligence they'd just gathered. We've located a group of monsters estimated at S2 plus rank, about 30 of them. They're the Ice Clan Gagoi, estimated at S plus plus 1 rank. Makoto calmly gave the order. The whole team eliminate the targets immediately. The Suwu team followed their captain's command and began their assault. Yes, the agents in the black uniforms. The SWO team dived into the fray, attacking the Gagoi monsters. Minato stood on the sidelines watching it all. It was incredible. He replayed the sequence of their actions in his mind. Just moments ago, their situational awareness and coordinated strikes were far faster than theirs. Minato held them in high regard. Even if they joked around, they were still top-tier official members. His serious voice cut through the air. Captain Makoto, Makoto knew what he wanted to say before he could finish. S++ isn't a problem. Join the fight. With the captain's permission, Minato surged with energy. Yes. A foot stomped down onto the head of an Ice Clan monster. It was Minato. He landed one solid hit and sent them crashing deep into the thick snow, creating a massive tremor. The ground shattered instantly. As soon as Minato touched down, a hand clutching a sword appeared right behind him. It was going for an attack. Mana saw it and cried out in panic. Look out! An Ice Clan monster wielding a sword just like a human was attacking them. Mana reminded him that there were powerful individuals among them. A roaring, scorching flame was summoned. It was the Phantasm Blade. The monster had barely noticed it before being burned alive in the inferno. Takeru had witnessed everything. He couldn't help but look back astonished. He saw Minato, his sword blazing with fire. Mana, on the other hand, looked completely unfazed, as if she had expected it all along. Then red laser-like beams overlapped, forming a spider web. It was a technique from Makoto's blade. He only needed to swing his hand once, and he could slice through a massive number of the Ice Clan monsters. After he sheathed his sword, their bodies turned into chunks of white ice falling like a shower of hail. Night fell. Inside an ice shelter made of thick snow, golden light glowed. The group sat inside a candle burning in the center. Mana put her hands on her hips and asked, "How is it, Takaru?" Takaru sat there casually slurping his noodles. Nothing. There's not a single boss within a 10-kilometer radius. Mana looked at him. Looks like we're stuck sleeping here then. Hey, where's Minato? Minato was outside warming himself by a large fire, unaware that Mana was looking for him. Where did the captain and the others go? He closed his eyes. Minato recalled the battles of the past. The fight with Bondo Shizuma gave me a clue on how to combine skills. He was trying to think big, pushing his limits. If that works, then other skills surely. Minato closed his eyes, trying to force the skills to merge. Focus. I have to do this. His eyes snapped open, his whole face lighting up. I have to make it work. Suddenly, Makoto's voice came from behind, making him jump out of his skin. Water and lightning elements flickered in his hands. You're practicing quite hard. I didn't know what you were doing. Am I bothering you? Minato quickly explained, no, not at all. The real reason in his heart was just that he was startled because the man had appeared so suddenly. The two sat by the crackling fire and chatted. Is this your first time camping, Minato? Yes, Makoto asked with concern. Are you tired? Minato didn't show any weakness. He was still full of vitality. I'm still good. Makoto heard this and sighed. Is that so? Because he was different from Minato, Makoto said in a low voice. I just want to go home right now. Minato was surprised. Why is that? They both spoke at the same time, their voices overlapping. I want to smell. Whenever I'm out, I always miss the scent of home. The scent of my cat. Makoto cupped his face and yelled, I want to smell it right now. In contrast, Minato was taken aback by his expression. Are you talking about that scent? He stammered. You keep a cat. What breed is it? Makoto introduced him. It's this one. For a fleeting moment, when Minato laughed, Makoto had sat down next to him. Minato was shocked to see the red-haired man sitting beside him. His reflexes were fast, but Makoto's expression remained perfectly normal. Look at this. Minato looked at the chubby cat in the phone. It's so cute. What's its name? Oribe Manju. Minato was surprised by the name, because it sounded like a traditional Japanese snack. He gazed at the pictures on the phone. How should I put it? Looking at the look in its eyes in these photos. It doesn't seem to like you very much. Makoto quickly countered, not at all. He explained that no matter how many lint rollers he used, his clothes were always covered in fur and it scratched everything. Both the walls of my house and my own skin are covered in wounds. It even barfs up hairballs. And it hates being held. Every day is total chaos. Even though he said that there wasn't a trace of hatred on Makoto's face, I even sounded a bit smitten. But the way it refuses to open up to me, it's just like Shinji. Isn't it adorable? Minato couldn't understand. Are all cat lovers like this? Deep inside, Makoto had a burden no one else could understand. He wondered someday. I wonder, could I really get that close to Shinji? Minato could see the inner turmoil he was struggling with, but not knowing what else to do. He stammered, I'm an only child, so I wouldn't know. As he had once witnessed the two brothers at odds, Minato comforted him. Just treat Shinji the same way you treat Oribe Manju. Hearing this, Makoto's face lit up as if enlightened, finding a way out of his dead end. He offered a faint smile. I see. Minato scrolled through his phone and found a video. It was unexpectedly cute, and upon hearing the adorable voice coming from the clip sweet as can be, like a doting pet owner, he was surprised. In the video, the voice rang out, Be a good boy, have a little treat, okay? Does your hand hurt? Minato asked, stunned. Are you talking to a child? Because the voice in the video belonged to Makoto. Someone usually so serious and cold yet capable of such an adorable side. Our Oribe Manju is an angel after all. Meanwhile, Makoto was still reflecting on Minato's words. So that's how it's done. His expression was hidden in the shadows as he said word by word, Minato, could you be my practice partner for a while? Minato's face darkened. He screamed internally. No way, absolutely not. Just then Mana appeared behind them. Captain Minato, you're here too. Go back to sleep. We have to be up early tomorrow morning. Makoto agreed. But that left Mana confused, only able to call out Captain. That night, while Minato and the other members were asleep, footprints appeared in the white snow at night. A mountaineer hurried over shouting when he spotted a man dressed in light clothing walking through the mountains in the middle of the night. Hey you there! Coming up the mountain in that outfit at this hour, that's suicide. The mountaineer approached and shone his light, then happily asked, Are you a transcendental? Did you come here for a mission? The dark mage held a book in his hand. Without turning back, he ignored the greeting and replied coldly, Yes, that's right. I'm here on a mission to fulfill the prophecy of this place. It was a very important mission. A transcendental had entered the mountain where Minato and his team were camping. Kaminagi Minato was sleeping during the night, training the final lesson of the day. Training focus for archery. Minato had been practicing archery with Magi for over 25 hours. Not knowing when the target would appear, he stood by with his arms crossed and asked, Are you tired, Minato? This drill only has meaning once you've reached your limit. Meanwhile, Ituryu was shouting in the distance. Why isn't there a swordsmanship class tonight? Silentius coldly reminded him. We already had one yesterday, remember? Ituryu was furious and could only curse, Damn it! But this didn't affect Minato, who was drawing his bow. Magi silently praised him. The boy wasn't influenced by the noise around him. He commended him, Your concentration has improved significantly since our first lesson. Magi watched him as Minato spoke up, finally thinking of his teammates. Because I'm on a mission with such a strong team. He pulled the bowstring taut. I want to do my best. The arrow flew with a whistle, tearing through the wind in a straight line and hitting the bullseye. Seeing the result, Magi praised him, Very good. He instructed Minato, Don't forget that feeling. That's it for today's lesson. As for him, once he fired the last arrow, he collapsed onto the ground. Yeah, finally done. Ituryu's sharp nose sniffed him out immediately. Are you finished? I was fired up like he was heading to the battlefield and reached for his sword, approaching him. Come on, Minato, it's time for sword practice. Just then, he had already woken up. Before them, the troops stood in two vertical lines and the group stood on an ice circle. Makoto asked, All right, are you ready? Minato's face was extremely serious. Makoto said coldly, stating the objective of this trip. Today we must find and eliminate the boss of this prophecy. Day 2 of the Eternal Ice Age. When Takaru's radar hit full capacity, he announced, Distance 152, 10 enemies. Mana ordered scatter and attack, because the monsters this time were the Icebird tribe estimated at level S3+. On the projected, their silhouettes appeared amidst a sigh. Allison sat with her legs crossed, painting her nails a deep pink. She evaluated, This mission seems a bit too easy, don't you think? Lalix crossed his arms in agreement. The people accompanying us are very strong. There probably won't be any danger like last time. Silentia's noticed the guardian Hyoma there. Is something the matter, sir? The old man rubbed his beard, looking very worried. I'm not sure myself, but I have a bad feeling about this. At the scene, Mana reported, Captain, all targets have been eliminated. Makoto nodded. Good. Makoto asked, Takeru, how is it? He looked at his radar and announced back, at a distance of 2,000, there's a very strong signature. I think that's the boss. Wait. The noise grew louder and louder, making the frozen ground tremble. It's heading towards us, Takeru stammered, reporting. The enemy will arrive in 19... No, because the monster had already appeared right before their eyes. Takeru had just finished saying no. It was a giant monster, an ancient boss. Kameda's weapon danger level undetermined. Mana's gaze was ice cold as she looked at it. This aura, it's completely different from those other monsters. The moment Makoto gave the order to engage, the squad members vanished from sight. A streak of golden light shot out. It came from one of Sue's teammates. Golden threads were binding all 4 of Paz's arms, the ones holding his swords making him furious as veins popped on his biceps. He started counting. The second beat was Mana. She slipped underneath and sliced through its heel while another teammate leaped high up in front of Paz, manifesting a circular golden shield that blasted straight at the monster for the third beat. Immediately after, a fierce torrent of fire erupted from that shield, scorching Paz directly while he was still held fast by the golden threads. Mana panicked when she saw her blade had chipped. After taking several hits in a row without a scratch, the fire faded, but there it still stood towering over them. Suddenly someone leaped down from above. It was Minato. He recalled all the teachings of the gods. Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. Just focus on the enemy's life force. But as Akon once said when facing a powerful foe, unleash your strongest attack right from the start. Absolutely avoid dragging out the fight. Minato poured every ounce of his strength into his flaming sword, staring coldly at the monster. This is my strongest attack. From midair, he swung his blade, weaving an illusion to strike a straight line at the boss. Minato stared in shock for the technique he thought was his strongest, only managed to scratch the monster's arm. Useless. Right after, the boss countered, swinging its blade horizontally toward him. Its 4 arms lashed out, shattering the ice pillars and leaving nothing but crumbling shards falling everywhere. Takeru asked with concern, Minato, are you all right? Minato collapsed onto the snowy ground, saved only by an ice pillar. He gasped, so strong. Mana also retreated a step, dodging while staring hard at the boss because of this thing, the prophecy. This time it's finally ranked as a level 1. His eyebrows knit together tightly. He called out to the captain, calling for Makoto. I'm sorry, but please, sir. Makoto was already ready, drawing his sword to join the fray. No problem. Takeru threw out a binding ribbon. Minato, run. Minato, get out of the way. If you stay here now, things will be even harder to handle. Minato was about to protest, but the boss swung its arms. Its 2 left arms struck with force, kicking up a blinding cloud of snow. Minato watched, yelling anxiously, Captain! Just when they thought Makoto was going to be overwhelmed, they heard his cold, sharp huff as he stood there completely unbothered. With arrogance, he used the tip of his blade to block the slash. The monster's ice blade even started to crack. Makoto said in a cold, casual tone, Strong, huh? He hadn't been hurt at all. Looking up at the monster, Minato was stunned, while Takeru seemed used to this. But it wasn't exactly surprising. Seeing that scene, Mana grumbled to herself, Here we go again, having to hear that only the captain is strong. Minato was taken aback to see Mana. Missing the point of the situation was that really all the vice-captain was worried about. Enraged, the boss prepared another swing, but Makoto calmly held his sword vertically to the left, blocking it with ease. Right after, he gripped his sword firmly and countered, slicing off both of the boss's arms. On the monitor, Ituryu was surprised. Not bad. For a modern-day superhuman, his fighting spirit had just been ignited. With a dark, somber voice, he muttered, I want to have a match with you. Minato, lend me your body. Minato immediately refused. No way, I'm not lending it to you. The monster had already had all 4 arms severed. Makoto looked at it, his eyes sharp as knives. I want the team members to have a chance to gain experience by defeating bosses like you on their own. But never mind, I'll finish you off now. A team member caught the rhythm of the attack and immediately deployed a barrier, creating a blue protective shield. Makoto used the blood dragon technique. Flames flared up like a volcanic eruption, spreading intensely. If not for the barrier, everyone else would have been burned to a crisp. Makoto used the crimson slash the scorching flames following the path of his blade to strike the monster. It burned in a straight line with a massive range. Minato stood with his jaw dropped, witnessing it all. The monster was sliced in two, its body slowly melting away like water. Minato was amazed. A fire sword. But it's even stronger than my own skills. If it weren't for this barrier, I would have turned to ash. This is the power of Captain Makoto. Makoto sighed. A shame. He hoisted his sword onto his back and said heroically, "Protecting this world is our duty," Mana yelled in a panic. "Captain!" Minato realized it instantly, his expression darkening because he realized his brain had been completely taken over by a cat. Minato knew his place. His swordsmanship style was different from Zakiro's. Just watching his movements and breathing, he knew he couldn't compare, Minato thought. I wasn't discouraged. Instead, his fighting spirit ignited. His eyes shone as he looked at Makoto. "Amazing, I want to." He stared intently at Makoto, wanting to learn more from him. Makoto unleashed his final move, slashing horizontally through the boss. The team members cheered, "Amazing!" Suddenly, something flashed past Makoto's hand. Makoto was shocked because as he turned his head, he saw a hole. A hole appeared in their sturdy barrier. The barrier was pierced, and it went straight through Takeru's chest, leaving blood gushing out. The others were attacked in the same way. If they didn't lose their heads, they were losing chunks of flesh. Minato witnessed it all, his eyes as wide in disbelief. What? Seeing Jakero collapse, blood splattering everywhere. Minato ran over in a panic, yelling, "Kuriyama-san!" Jakero glanced back. "You idiot!" and pushed him away. Thud. Minato was horrified. Right after, Jakero suffered more wounds, a hole in his stomach and his left arm severed. Minato was terrified, staring blankly, his jaw dropped, frozen in shock for what felt like 10 years. Makoto stood motionless, sword in hand, witnessing the scene. Jakero cursed, "Damn it." Makoto was suspicious, thinking back his radar hadn't detected any incoming attacks. With his last bit of strength, Jakero painfully reached toward the captain. "Captain, I'm sorry." He collapsed, lying motionless as blood flowed like a stream from his wounds, seeping into the pristine snow. He tried to muster his final strength, but by now the captain surely knew what kind of enemy they were dealing with. With an affectionate look in his eyes, he smiled and passed away. Makoto was horrified, deeply shocked by the sight. His lips trembled, he gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with pain and deep resentment. Boom! A gunshot rang out. Another member was targeted. He screamed in pain. "Ah!" Mana was startled. "Hisano!" Captain Makoto shouted. "Everyone take cover!" The other members scrambled to escape, but one person remained lost in grief, kneeling stubbornly like a statue. The captain's shout still echoed. The enemy is about to unleash another skill. 2 unfortunate members had passed away, lying motionless in a pool of blood on the cold, snowy ground. Mana turned her head, calling for the others to flee anxiously. "Kuriyama! Hisano!" Yama sat slumped on the snowy ground, clutching his injured arm in agony, the captain's arm. The scene shifts to Makoto, who is kneeling, using his sword with his left hand for support, while his right hand has been severed halfway. Blood drips steadily onto the snow. He remembers just a second ago something flashed by an attack that not even a shield could block. Perhaps the trait of this skill is to annihilate everything it touches. With eyes full of rage, he lunges forward like a blur. Mana, panicked, shouts, "Captain!" Suddenly, the green monster rises again. It grinds its teeth. Honestly, this monster seems to be a follower of the blue path. Raising his sword, Mana is filled with fierce determination. Can this boss monster actually revive itself? If that's the case, we're the only ones who can take it down. Can you still move, Kaminagi? No reply. Glancing back, Mana screams, "Kaminagi." Kaminagi is still kneeling, frozen stiff. "In terms of hardness, even a diamond would have to call you sir now," a voice remarks. Wallenstein is deeply shocked by his comrade's passing. He is dazed. "Someone please save them, resurrect them." He bows his head to the saintly healer, Valentine heartbroken. "Minato, I apologize, but even as godly as I may be," looking at the devastating scene, "I cannot bring your comrades back from the dead." Accepting the reality, Minato feels a heavy heart. "I understand." Ai softly recites a list of familiar names. Raichiru, Wantak, Eiler. Everyone. Recalling the battle with Bando. "In the end, I still have to rely on Jichiro." Minato is determined. This time I will definitely complete the mission with my own strength. He returns to reality facing the painful scene before him. I'm sorry, but please help me. Itoryu furrows his brow. I understand. His still kneeling head, bowed, his hair fluttering and turning white as snow. Makoto moves through the air like a whirlwind, reflecting on the attack that bypassed even Kuriyama's detection range. Her radar range is about 3 kilometers, which means that attack came from more than 3 kilometers away. Thinking back, the enemy pierced through his arm and... Kuriyama, to sum it up, Makoto is startled to realize the enemy's strength is on par with his own. Introducing Makoto, he usually holds back his power so his team has the opportunity to grow. He has strength to spare. With his speed and sharp perception, he can easily pinpoint locations over 3 kilometers away and even pierce through obstacles where the enemy is hiding. Thinking of Kuriyama's bright smile, Hisano's genius brain, Kawase's kind heart, and Muromi's strength, Makoto goes berserk. I won't let your deaths become meaningless. Having said that, Makoto swings his sword. Sich Kwang Tram crimson light, slash, a dark orb appears. A voice from somewhere mocks, ha! Confused, he looks down. A watermark and something else are slowly advancing. The voice sneers. Found me yet you attack me immediately. As expected of the captain of the strongest team. Makoto is stunned. His flame was swallowed. Dark orbs fly around the dark mage. He continues with a mocking tone. If your left arm were still intact, I would be a goner. He approaches filled with contempt. Pfft. But that's just a hypothetical. His expression shifts, his eyes turning solid white. Countless dark orbs rush toward Makoto. He screams, die! Makoto swings his sword, blowing away the white snow. The dark mage is puzzled as if watching a play. Zwoop. A red laser flashes past his neck. He stops. Makoto looks at his sword in disbelief. It has snapped in two. His shoulder has another wound causing blood to splatter everywhere. Turning his back and walking away, the dark mage glances over his shoulder, sneering. That's how it is. You'd think you'd actually manage to chop off my head. Makoto, out of mana, collapses. The dark mage continues. But in reality, you're the one who is about to meet the Grim Reaper. Hatred wells up. Makoto grinds his teeth and lunges forward, slashing wildly. The guy is startled. Oof! He rotates his hips slightly. He must have studied martial arts since he was young and kicks Makoto's wound painfully. With blatant contempt, it's useless. He shouts, hey! The guy furrows his brow, looking at Makoto with confusion. Boom. One would think he had met the Grim Reaper, but no. He continues to stand up and fight. He asks confusedly, why did you hold back against me earlier after landing a few hits on us? You stopped for a moment. He triumphantly replies, a skill that can annihilate everything it touches. Just describing it like that, you can already see it's way too strong, so it would be difficult to use it continuously. He somersaults, planing around. If I'm not mistaken, you must be consuming mana just as much as we are. Stand still properly. He talks, but in reality he is being arrogant and contemptuous. It seems you and I aren't quite in the same league. Looking at Makoto's miserable state, he continues, because you're at such a disadvantage. Makoto roars, refusing to accept the disadvantage. Remembering the day the team was founded, he tightens his grip on the broken sword. The 3 rules of Team Swu. His body is already submerged in a sea of flames created by himself. The 3rd rule. The dark mage stands frozen. He burns his own wound to stop the bleeding. The arm is burned until the flesh chars. He screams, overcoming the hatred in his eyes. The pain, the deafening scream, the adversity. Secret art, dragon blood, crimson flame. The guy's voice mocks. You're planning to burn your very life away, are you? With a vile look, he continues. Fine, I'll play along with you. Thinking of everyone, Makoto feels as if he has been granted 1,000 times the strength. Everyone watch me. Mana's eyes are sharp. Beads of sweat have rolled down his cheeks. He feels a bit disappointed. Damn it. Standing before the green monster, he is terrified. It is still too strong. It's difficult to subdue it alone. Glancing around to find his teammates, he sees Minato and screams, Kaminagi! Suddenly, he realizes something is wrong. Faced with the brutal scene before him, his will to fight completely vanished after witnessing the death of Kuriyama and the others, but that's only natural. After all, he's just an ordinary person who only recently joined the Prophecy Guild and became a hunter. What was that? Mana, still in a state of shock, watched Minato push himself up from the ground, ignoring his pain. He stood tall and resilient against the snowy winds, and Mana, startled, actually had his hood blown off. "Kamina," he whispered. Before he could even finish, Minato lunged forward with a violent boom. He kicked the monster, tearing its body to pieces. It was as if a legendary fighter had possessed him, landing a devastating blow, one that the monster could barely hope to block. Mana was completely stunned, watching Minato's back as he walked away, breaking into a sweat. As he marched through the blizzard, his cloak billowed, releasing countless shimmering golden crystals into the air. The two others stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. Behind that cloak, there were so many people fighting alongside him, pushing themselves to the limit. "Minato, leave the rest to us." Cutting to Captain Makoto and the Dark Mage. They were still locked in a fierce battle. Makoto went wild, unleashing thousands upon thousands of crimson light slashes. The Dark Mage couldn't even catch his breath. Exhausted and overwhelmed, things were getting more intense by the second. The mage kept spamming his dark arts, but the flames that should have been extinguished were gradually rising again. Even when controlling darkness with his own power, there was still a limit to what he could do. The mage frowned. "If that's how it is..." Whoosh! He launched billions of dark orbs toward Makoto. Waiting for that exact moment, Makoto sprang forward and lunged at him, slicing off one of his arms. Makoto shouted, "The tables have turned between us now." The mage sneered with contempt. "Then take this." Thud, thud, thud. He kicked viciously at Makoto's wound, causing him agonizing pain. Makoto spat blood, his eyes rolling back as he clutched his severed arm, but the mage remained arrogant. "You only managed to cut off one of my arms. That changes nothing. Don't forget you've got a hole in your own stomach, too." Makoto collapsed in agony, his arms engulfed in flames. The mage continued. "After I unleashed my darkness, I knew you'd rush in immediately to try and start a close-quarters fight with me." Reflecting on it, the mage felt smug. "You are strong, I'll give you that. You always know how to choose the best strategy, and you move fast to save time, but it's too easy to predict." With a vile look in his eyes, he added, "That's exactly why you're sure to lose to me." Makoto was completely drained, covered in blood, and tortured, neither able to live nor die. The dark mage reached into his pocket to find something. "Besides, I knew from the very beginning that you would lose." He pulled it out, his expression shifting into something dangerous. "Thanks to this book." Makoto was startled, shocked, and shouted, "A book? Don't tell me that's..." "The book that makes everyone who sees it tremble in fear. It's called the Book of Doom, the book that ends all cycles." Yes, he held the book up as if chanting a spell, and in that same frame, two opposing factions stood against each other. If there is an organization that opposes the prophecies, wouldn't there also be another organization destined to carry them out? Makoto, soaked in sweat, frowned in disbelief. "An organization?" The mage introduced himself even though no one asked. "I am one of the 12 apostles of the apocalypse, the 12th messenger of darkness, and I will be the one to fulfill this prophecy." Makoto gripped his sword, confused. "Fulfill the prophecies of destruction, huh? Why even do that?" Closing the book, the mage sighed. "If I told you, would you forgive me?" Makoto lunged forward with his sword. "Not a chance!" A spark flew, startling the mage. Makoto brought his blade down in a vertical strike from head to chest, severing one of the mage's ears. He went silent, blood splattering everywhere. It was unclear where he drew the strength from, but Makoto could still stand. He urged himself on, believing he could still win this fight. He's run out of mana, so he won't be able to use that skill again. His body is almost at its limit, too. He swung his sword again, flames swirling, a do-or-die struggle like a final battle where only one would remain. Blood Dragon spell. Just as he was about to be split in two, the mage remained arrogant. "This will be the end of you." He pulled a glass vial from his pocket and popped the lid. A blinding light erupted, forcing Makoto to shut his eyes. "Is this light from heaven?" Before he could process it. Bam! An unexpected punch dislocated his jaw. Makoto was sent flying. As he regained consciousness, he was completely baffled, shocked time and time again. How? The dark mage stood before him, his body completely healed as if it were a ghost story. His right arm, which Makoto had just sliced off, was back. He screamed at Makoto, "Artifacts are extremely precious, so I didn't want to use it, but fighting someone like you leaves me no choice. Using it. SUOU. Crimson light, / Makoto continued to unleash flames toward him, and the dark stones didn't stop either. Boom boom. The mage charged like a madman, attacking relentlessly. If Makoto had a heart condition, He would have collapsed from the billions of shocks. It was impossible. He had fully recovered. Drawing on his own knowledge, a giant question mark formed in his mind. Artifacts items strictly controlled by nations because they are too powerful, and at the same time, relics from the ancient era. There isn't a single organization out there that's actually allowed to use that relic from the ancient tower, you know. Lost in thought, that maniac landed a knockout blow, the kind that would make a pro boxer reach for their phone to call it quits, unleashing a strike with 7,749 liters of blood spraying everywhere, leaving Makoto sprawled out on the snow. Finally, the dark mage standing before him sneered, "You've hit the dirt." Perhaps it was for this very reason that Makoto's hair was red-dyed by the blood of his struggles as he reached for his sword with a trembling arm, his voice weak. "Not yet. I'm still standing at the threshold before meeting the Grim Reaper." I thought of his parents, his comrades, and continued, his voice fading. "I still have work to do." But memories of his conversation with Minato surfaced. "I'm an only child, so I can't understand what you're feeling, but why don't you try treating Shinji the way you treat Orobity?" He muttered, a smirk tugging at his lips as he gripped his sword tighter. With a steely voice, he replied, "You're right, Kaminagi. That's it, isn't it?" Kanagi's face twisted in rage, tears streaming down. You're the ones who made our student cry, aren't you?" Makoto collapsed, both his hands severed and his body soaked in blood. "Kanagi, no, not Kanagi." A blazing blue energy flared up behind him. Makoto stared, stunned. That's not him. He looked at the dark mage. Even the 12 had sensed something unnatural about Kaminagi. Minato thought to himself, the boy in front of him isn't a rabbit he can hunt whenever he wants. This is an existence he can never afford to take his eyes off of. Suddenly, a orb of dark energy shot toward him. He thought to himself, the 12's best option is the dark mage. The mage shouted, "Don't move," his face set with grim determination. One of the mage's arms was sliced clean off. "If you make one more move," he roared, "I'll take this kid's life right now." The mage's face was etched with anxiety and a hint of fury. His arm was gone. His eyes narrowed in rage. He hadn't taken his eyes off the kid for a second. Yet Kanagi stood in the distance, sword in hand, as if he'd just slashed someone. I was baffled, wondering when exactly his arm had been cut off. Kanagi held a new stance as if he'd just finished cutting something. His sword was bent like a sickle in the silent air. He felt as if his master were standing right behind him. "This blade really is dull," Q murmured from behind, sitting in his wheelchair. "I didn't expect it to give out after just one swing." His calm was terrifying, but he continued anyway. He raised a hand and cast a spell, the 3 holy punishments. A cyclone of energy flared and weapons flew into the air. Q stood behind Kanagi. Both of them raised their hands. "Let us trade weapons with you," Q said, his eyes sharp and voice filled with anticipation. "Everyone show him what a living hell feels like." The dark mage's arm seemed to reattach itself. He looked surprised. Ituryu watched with hatred. "Is that arm I just severed regenerating?" Silentia, standing beside him with a serious look, replied, "That's reversal. I'm impressed. To think a transcendent can still pull that move off these days." Inside a glass bottle, a porcelain angel sat. It must have been a relic. It will continuously heal every wound until the effect wears off, so there has to be a limit to how many times it can regenerate. An arrow pierced the 12's forehead. His eyes bulged. This time it was as if magic had possessed Kanagi. He drew his bow and fired straight into the center of the mage's forehead. "You said it right," he said, as arrow after arrow embedded itself into his body. Wantak folded his arms and turned his back to Silentius, looking into the distance, deep in thought. "So how do we destroy that thing?" Silentius replied, her eyes sharp and serious. "Kill him repeatedly. Eventually his stamina will hit its limit." The dark mage summoned a mass of dark, malevolent energy. Kanagi kept his bow raised, firing arrow after arrow into him. One shot pierced right through the dark energy. It struck him straight in the eye. One by one, arrows slammed into his heart and eyes. In the distance, Q lowered his bow. Thick smoke filled the air. Q's eyes widened with a defiant glare. "With openings that wide, did you really think you could escape my sights?" The 12 kept regenerating, his face twisted in anxiety and confusion. "Damn it!" he lashed out at Kanagi with dark orbs. Wantak used his energy to create clones of himself to protect Kanagi. Hai moved with blinding speed, pinning the mage's hand. Kanagi delivered a direct kick to the mage's chin, sending him flying into the air, but the mage rebounded, his face filled with fury. Kanagi grabbed the mage's hand and slammed a fist into his face. Wantak's expression turned grave. "I see now. So that's the ability, it destroys anything it touches. Not a bad technique. It was effective the moment it was released. Dark orbs shrouded the 12's vision, but if he loses sight of us, its effectiveness drops. Wontok frowned. I could dodge that move in a heartbeat. Kannagi grabbed the mage by one arm and swung him with tremendous force, sending him flying far away. Boom. Wontok looked on, deadpan, his voice dripping with sarcasm. How many times has he died already? Ayler placed a hand on his forehead, peering out as if searching for something. Do we really need to keep counting? Through the thick dust, Kannagi walked toward Makoto, who lay in a pool of blood. Makoto, covered in wounds and breathing heavily, wheezed out, Are you Kaminagi? Makoto dropped to one knee before Kannagi, blood coating his body and the earth. Ba Valentine, with a cold, blank expression as if possessing Kannagi, replied, No, Makoto. Kannagi was enveloped in a golden light. Makoto stared blank-faced as he felt himself being healed. Kannagi stood there calm and indifferent. We are the progenitors currently occupying the body of Kaminagi Minato. Like heroic spirits, one Kannagi said, then vanished, leaving Makoto bathed in the golden healing energy. We're busy, so we're heading out first. Makoto looked stunned. Wait, those were the progenitors. The 12 knelt on one knee at the edge of the abyss, thinking, how could he dodge my darkness so easily? It's impossible. Furiously furrowing his brow, he screamed, You damn monster, think, will you? An arrow pierced straight through his heart. This time it was Kansas. He seemed to possess Kannagi's body, grabbing an arrow and driving it right into the guy's heart, piercing him clean through. Blood splattered everywhere. He gasped in shock, caught completely off guard, not even able to process what had happened. Kansas glanced over with a sharp, piercing gaze. Stay like that. Can he still die? Silentius judged seriously no. The dark sorcerer pulled the arrow from his chest himself, and the arrow slammed into an ice block. Kansas muttered, I see. Next was Ayler. She possessed Kannagi, flying in and radiating an intense golden energy as if trampling over him. How annoying. Behind Kannagi. She wondered, if we destroy his entire body, which part will regenerate first? I wonder. His body was reduced to just one hand, but then he regenerated back to his former self and screamed, Huh! Huh! He lunged forward with a furious expression, but deep down he was sweating with anxiety, thinking, I can't let that brat get in my way. I have to kill Swoo Makoto and then make a run for it. He skidded to a halt, his face turning pale and his brows furrowing with a mix of anxiety and surprise. Makoto stood with his head bowed. Kannagi sat in front of him also with his head bowed. You're late. He chuckled with a look of contempt as the dark sorcerer backed away. Ah! Itorio stood behind Kannagi, watched closely, moving as one. They swung their swords and his body was sliced into hundreds of pieces. His face was slashed in two, his expression frozen in surprise and bewilderment. He thought to himself, my life's purpose was to fulfill the prophecy. I do not fear death, but... A massive shark's mouth opened wide as if about to swallow him. This immense abnormality has shaken my resolve. The fear I cast aside long ago turns out to be so close. I am ready to sacrifice this life to fulfill the prophecy. He reached into his pocket, intending to grab something. I must not be afraid. He pulled out a golden glass vial. I must overcome this fear. Seeing him pull something from his pocket, Kannagi slashed at him, severing his arm instantly. Blood sprayed, sending the golden artifact flying. He looked on in stunned shock. The artifact, a cage, surrounded Kannagi. It was a time cage. The guy's hand reached for his sword. His face dazed, blood splattered everywhere. The regeneration effect had worn off. He was drenched in sweat, his expression one of grim determination. I did it. I actually did it. Itorio looked up at the cage. This is... Silentius looked away. A cage created by that artifact. She gathered a mass of energy in her hand. So what do we do now? Itorio's eyes were sharp as he stepped toward the arm that had been severed from his body. Finally, his regeneration skill has stopped. He clutched his severed arm, staring at Kannagi. Rest assured, not even my darkness can do anything to that cage. I can't kill you and you can't kill me. He panicked, breaking out in a cold sweat. But I can get out of here. The result of this battle. Itorio glared at him. Hey, do you see it clearly now? Makoto stood up from behind, his head bowed. He spoke in a cold voice. Swao Makoto. His body was covered in blood, but his eyes were sharp as he looked at the guy. He held a staff broken in two and scratched his head. How strange. If it only takes a sword, then it won't be Makoto. He smiled brightly, his hand still gripping the staff. Could it be that he is a genius like me, is it not? You should go find a master that suits you, don't you think? I have followed the words of Ichihara Midori, the strongest transcendent. I went searching for teachers and I became a disciple of many, but the first master. He had a muscular build covered in scars across his back and face and carried a giant wooden sword on his shoulder. Come back, kid, you've already surpassed me. Wait, the previous line was the master speaking. The second one was an old master. Have you become better than me already? He stood under a paper umbrella, then turned his back and walked away into the rain. Go find another master. Next was another master who looked like a woodsman. Once again I realized just how average I really am. So many different masters within just 1 month, they all gave up on training me. The previous master had introduced him to a new one. From today on, study under this person, the strongest swordsman I know. This is my disciple. A girl with her hair loosely tied back, an eye patch covering half her face, her visible eye, a striking red. It was Hinoki Ichika. The scene was terrifying. Flames engulfed everything. Swords were stuck haphazardly across the ruined land. The final master I had been taught by Hinoki Ichika for 3 years. He called out to his master. Makoto held up a book asking, "This technique." Hearing her student call her, she turned her head, On the book was a certain technique. Seeing what Makoto was asking about, she exclaimed, "Ah," then explained, "It has been passed down since the 7th generation. Even I cannot perform it." Supporting the technique mentioned above was a woman, covering one eye while holding the sword in that defensive stance. That's a technique unique to Hinoki Zichiru. As he pored over the book, he echoed his master's words from the founder, "Every journey comes to an end." Ichika stood on the battlefield facing Makoto and said his goodbyes. "I have nothing left that I can teach you. You have already inherited the entire Hidori single-blade school." Facing that farewell once more, he asked in confusion, "Master, how do I get any stronger from here?" Faced with his former pupil's question, Ichika sighed. Who knows? The image of a flower bud bloomed in his mind as he replied, "Your potential is almost absurdly vast. Even after training this much, you are still just a bud. You could try learning other schools of swordsmanship, or you could dedicate yourself entirely to the path of battle. But to make it bloom while you are still alive, that will be incredibly difficult." Seeing his past self and how he once was, then remembering the words his master taught him someday, returning to the current battlefield, as if awakened by those words. Perhaps you will meet a swordsman stronger than yourself. He appeared right before Makoto's eyes. Stunned, he looked at his comrades still fighting. Thoughts poured out as he saw Minato fighting with everything he had. I shouldn't run from anything, because we only get one chance at these encounters in life. Those lessons from the past awakened his mind. He sent his gratitude to his master. "Thank you, master." Even though both of his hands had been severed, he still raised his arm stumps. "Now I finally understand." And right now, ignoring his battered, broken body, a surge of energy erupted from within him at this very moment. Everyone began to notice. The red-haired girl said, "Hinoki, what on earth is he planning?" Iturio looked on deep in thought. Everyone stood on the ice, speechless. Minato cried out in alarm, "Captain!" as a crimson wave of power erupted from Makoto. It soared into the sky. In parallel, a wave of blue light erupted from the person trapped in the iron cage back at the training grounds in the Taijo headquarters. Midori was channeling his energy. Everyone turned to look, asking, "What's going on? What is this power?" Shinji was confused. What was that?" The spot where Midori had been standing exploded instantly. Space seemed to tear open. Not understanding what was happening, Shinji winced at the massive shockwave from the explosion. Debris flew everywhere, whistling past his face. It left a few cuts. Everyone in the room jumped in shock at what just happened, shouting, "What was that, an explosion?" Shinji couldn't process what was going on, standing stunned before the sight of a giant hole that had appeared after the explosion. He called out, "Ichihara-san!" Back at the battle with that scene playing out, the dark sorcerer stood motionless, staring at Makoto. His severed arm was still bleeding uncontrollably. Chaos was rising. Seeing Makoto still performing techniques, he wondered. He shouldn't be able to do anything else as a swordsman, right? Whether from the heat of battle or pure fear, the sorcerer couldn't tell, but sweat poured down his face. His brow furrowed at the thought in his mind. Why do I have this feeling that I'm about to be cut down? Iturio turned his head to call for Minato, who was right beside him, looking worried. Peach blossom petals drifted in the wind. He spoke to Minato, but it was for everyone to hear. If humans are flowers, the moment they bloom in their true significance only lasts for an instant. Silentias listened intently as Iturio spoke. It's like their golden age, or like the god of defense Hyoma, or perhaps the moment one masters a transcendent technique. Silentias listened closely. Or the moment one awakens to the ultimate truth. Makoto stood in that moment of his own, waiting for his final explosion. But for him that moment is right now. Iturio continued. Engrave this image before your eyes, deep into your mind. His eyes widened, his voice faltering. Could it be? He exhaled a long breath. Piece by piece, memories, the happy ones and the sad ones, surfaced from the time he was a boy until he grew up, until this very moment. The flower of his life was ready to change. He raised his arms stumps high. He had spent his whole life searching for his true self, seeking masters, all for this very moment. The flower of his life finally bloomed. Minato and the dark sorcerer watched Makoto's actions intently. Between Makoto's arms, a blinding light erupted. With cold eyes, all his power converged into this final strike. That flower burst open brilliantly to greet the sun. Makoto uttered the name of the technique, Hinoki School Secret Hand 7, Unyielding Strikes. A beam of light sliced the dark sorcerer in two. I didn't even have time to react. Using his last bit of consciousness, he thought, my dark magic should have activated by now, shouldn't it? Space seemed to stand still after Makoto unleashed his technique. To be precise, he had sliced through his body without using any sword or hand. Blood began to spray along the bridge of his nose. Right here, right now. Is this the end for me? Makoto held his slashing pose as the sorcerer's body was split in two. Iturio praised him. Well done, Makoto. He stood there with a determined gaze, his thoughts unknown. Suddenly he staggered. The sword which had only existed in his mind had truly manifested. He looked up at the sky, standing beneath the layers of gray clouds. Right now his body was whole. He was holding his sword firmly. I can still see it far beyond the sky. He smiled with satisfaction, the light illuminating his elegant face. At last I have become a swordsman of that level. Makoto closed his eyes, savoring the gift of his family. His parents, Shinji, and his cat appeared one by one, followed by Midori, his friend, and the comrades who had fought side by side with him. Even his subordinates, every experience he had endured had made him stronger. Makoto thought of Shinji, even if this was his final moment, his little brother with a sorrowful face clutching the cat in his arms. Light shone behind Shinji while Makoto was slowly sinking into the darkness. I'm sorry, Shinji. Please forgive your big brother. I'm satisfied now. With a light step, he moved toward the sky, which had brightened once more. He looked back. It was Minato approaching. He smiled and reached out a hand toward Makoto. I was a bit surprised, but quickly regained his smile. That's right. He also reached out his hand toward Minato. This death was not the end yet. The two hands clasped tightly. I can still leave behind my legacy for the next generation after all. Thank you. In reality, the cage was gradually disappearing. Minato rushed forward, his face full of panic and sorrow. He ran to where Makoto was collapsing in a pool of blood. He thought to himself in that very moment, I can feel it through the void, that I'm connecting with Captain Suo. Minato rushed, calling out for Captain Suo as he ran. His panicked steps caused him to stumble and fall. Some kind of light appeared in the sky. Mana noticed the blue light. The battlefield was still scattered with dismembered corpses. Within that light, someone was flying toward them. It was Midori, the one who had just been pulled away from the great sage's training grounds. He flew in shouting Makoto's name, his eyes and mouth wide open, drenched in sweat. He landed softly beside Makoto. He gently lifted him up. Midori carefully checked his friend, his expression vacant as if he couldn't believe his own eyes. Until the very end, Makoto kept a smile on his lips. Hai departed peacefully, without a single regret left. Suao Makoto, at the age of 23, beside his closest friend, had fallen in the battle against the 12. Minato lay there helplessly shedding tears. The beautiful image of the two Suao brothers playing with their pet cat, a scene so warm and full of laughter. The blood stretched across a long distance. Midori lifted Makoto up, calling his name repeatedly in agony. Damn it, Makoto, why? He gritted his teeth, his mouth endlessly cursing his legacy, remembering the days gone by. When Makoto was focused on sword training, Midori had walked up and called out, Makoto, why did you decide to become the captain? He stopped wiping the sweat from his face. Surprised by Midori's question, he tossed a water bottle to him. Midori laughed and said, "In this great sages guild, if you're ranked second, then only I can be first. So if we fought with all our might, who else would be on your level?" Reaching out to catch the bottle smoothly, listening closely to his friend's words, he asked, "Don't you think it's better to fight alone?" Makoto didn't even react, remarking, "Your personality really hasn't changed a bit." Midori chuckled. "Are you saying I'm not suited for teamwork?" Makoto pondered, going further than anyone, shining brighter than any star. A star, shining brightly, standing out in the cosmic backdrop of the universe. That's important to you, right? He slowly put on his shirt and continued, "But for me, how should I put it?" Suddenly, there was a chirping call from outside the door. Both of them turned their heads to look. Outside, one by one, were his comrades. Jaquero had the brightest smile, holding up 2 fingers, bragging, "Kuzushiro, I passed the level 2 sword proficiency test, and I finished the mission the captain assigned to." Meanwhile, everyone standing nearby smiled. Mana even waved just as radiantly as Jaquero. It was Minato, his eyes sparkling, a big grin on his face, boasting, "Now I can assist you." So as soon as I finished, I had to bring the good news to the captain first. Jaquero couldn't hide his excitement. "Let's go grab a meal." The two of them continued to watch from the outside. Makoto had finished dressing and was rolling up his sleeves. He said, "You're right. His face was bright and radiant, just like his comrades standing outside. Just thinking about it was enough to make him smile. He loved his comrades dearly. Midori looked at his friend, bewildered by the confession, even as he lay there with injuries covering his body. "I still want to leave something behind for them just like this." 6 people always joyful when they saw him. He had brought about a precious bond of camaraderie. Meeting these people is what makes me the happiest. Back to the present. Midori spoke his final words to his closest friend. "Your comrades have seen it all of your achievements and heroic deeds." Mana stood there, eyes cast down, hands clenched tight. The others couldn't hold back either, kneeling on the ground before the pool of Makoto's blood. Both of them cried in agony, mourning the sacrifice of their captain and the other comrades. 2 of them were still alive. Midori reached out to close Makoto's eyes. "You have..." His voice broke. He didn't know when, but his eyes were already streaming with tears. "You have completed your duty of leading them." Now Makoto could finally rest in peace. The corners of his mouth still held a satisfied smile. Midori said through his tears, "That's something I could never do." And then the final words of praise, "You've worked hard, Makoto." Midori still lay face down, struggling alone. He lay there, clenching his fists, consumed by self-loathing. In his world, everyone watched from behind. His back was so lonely. Ayler looked around. Everything was fading into darkness. Magic spoke up, "It's no surprise." Silentius thought sadly, "That's right. He's surely thinking this is caused by his own weakness." He remained seated, letting the darkness surround him, arms hugging his chest. All the ancestors had also experienced the loss of their comrades, friends and family. All of those were pains that Silentius, Cassis Magat, or Hyoma had endured. They understood and suffered alongside him. His bandaged hands, tied by chains, reached out to those who were walking away, into the distance. Their hearts had shattered after witnessing the backs of the comrades who had departed, and most of them just can't get over that kind of pain. Ituryu understands exactly how you're feeling right now. He walks up behind you and calls out, "Minato." You don't even wait for him to finish. With your head still hanging low, you answer, "I don't want to fight anymore." Everyone looks a bit surprised. But looking at their expressions, you can tell they had somewhat expected it. "What's the reason behind this decision of yours?" Minato clutches his chest, choking back tears as he says, "It feels like my heart is being torn apart." You remember everything that has happened, how everyone went into battle one after another, people like Magic Valentine Kansas and the other progenitors. If I had let the progenitors fight from the very beginning, then no one would have had to die. Everyone follows Ituryu and stands behind you. Minato is still tormenting himself, thinking to become a source of strength for everyone as a vessel. I just need to train myself harder, that's all. After a moment of silence, Ituryu explains, "Minato, that is..." You cut him off. "I know my emotions are running high and I'm blaming myself even more." You think back to the moment with Captain Makoto. You hold your hand out in front of you, the hand that once shook Captain Su's hand. That final handshake is something you will carry with you for the rest of your life. You look at your hand now and it's burning like fire. You stand up to face Ituryu, catching him off guard. He entrusted everything to me, Minato screams in agony, tears streaming down his cheek. And I don't want to let his legacy go to waste. Upon hearing you speak, everyone goes from surprised to moved, and finally filled with pride. Lilac and Rowan look a bit stunned. Valentine is crying with a red nose, and now Carol, Kansas, and Magic, Hyoma and everyone else are smiling with pride. I'm not just thinking about surpassing the progenitors anymore. Everyone's eyes and noses are red from crying. I want to surpass everything. Allison, Silentia's One-Tech, and Ituryu all look at you with such pride. You look up and see a light appear in the dark sky. It's getting closer, expanding, shining over the entire area and beaming straight down onto you, Minato. Everyone where you are standing looks up in shock as the darkness is pushed aside. One-Tech and Silentia stare at you in surprise while Ayler is still looking around confused. Only Ituryu smiles as he watches you. Your hand, which was burning, clenches into a fist of determination. Your eyes become steady and you declare loudly, I will not let anyone else die.